Hokage start with a thunder fruit. Chapter 141 to 160. Chapter 141 Muyun is injured. Under the wave of Muyun, the giant thunder and lightning tiger of dozens of meters roared and rushed towards the Toying building, and devoured the entire building under the extremely ugly eyes of Dayemu. Rumbling, the violent thunder and lightning sent out the ultimate roar. Under the attack of thunder and lightning, the entire Toying building immediately vanished into ashes and disappeared directly from everyone's sight. Anamu's eyes were splitting, staring at Muyun with blood-red eyes. The eyes are full of people who choose to eat. The Toying building, it was destroyed. This kind of power, I am afraid that it is more than ninjutsu. What a terrible guy, what is his purpose and how can we stop it? Ninjas of Iwa Hidden Village looked at each other in dismay, and they were deeply shocked. They never thought that one day someone would destroy the iconic building of the Tsuchikage building under their noses. It is a shame, a naked humiliation. Oyegi's teeth are about to be shattered. Muyun's words filled him with remorse and hatred at the same time, just like the powerlessness when he faced Uchiha Madara. 157 feelings flooded my heart again. Especially Muyun's last sentence, how similar to what Uchiha Ban said to him contemptuously at the time. Seeing Muyun's gaze shifted to him, Anamu hurriedly covered up the gaze in his own eyes, for fear that Muyun will see his inner thoughts. Muyun looked at Dayemu and said, "This time it's just a small warning, next time you won't be so lucky in Yenian village. Old Z, let's go." Hearing this, Laozi glanced at Yenian village in a trance, and swept from every corner of Yenian village until finally, his eyes were fixed on Oyemu. Taking a deep look at Dayemu, Laozi immediately followed Muyun's footsteps and left Yenian village. Maybe from now on, he will never appear in Yenian village. In the future, he will only show his love for Yenian village. It turned into a beautiful memory and was deeply engraved in my mind. In fact, if it weren't for the long-term conflict, Laozi and I couldn't leave Yenian village just because of Onagi's words. With his influence in Yenian village, although he won't be able to compete with Oyemu in court, it is absolutely impossible for Oyemu to expel him from Yenian village. It's just a pity that the long-standing disagreement and the quarrel at the first meeting made Laozi a little disheartened. Tired, this kind of life is already very boring for him. Maybe he had made a plan deep in his heart, but he was just waiting for Oyemu to speak first. Watching Muyun and the two slowly leave, Oyemu's face after a change, when Laozi's eyes stayed on his body, Oyemu's heart suddenly shuddered. He wanted to open his mouth to retain, but because he couldn't wipe it, Oyemu never said any words to retain, so he could only watch Laozi follow. Muyun left. Maybe Anamu himself knew that it would be useless if he tried to retain him. Conclusion. Immediately. Start rebuilding the Tsuchikage building, and in addition, under the order. Go, if you encounter Konoha Thor on the way to the mission in the future, you can give up the mission and avoid punishment. Oyemu turned around and left, suppressing all the emotions in his heart, and commanded in a deep voice. After the Toying building was destroyed, he was also very angry and wanted to fight with Muyun, but he still forced himself to calm down. Perhaps Yenian village was his home ground, and if he attacked in groups, he might be able to take down Muyun, just like the 3 generations of Hokage back then. Back then, the 3 generations of Hokage were already as strong as monsters, and could only be filled with human lives. Still killed by them, but Oyemu is also very clear that this is not the time of war, and it is not worth it to consume tens of thousands of ninjas to deal with a shepherd cloud. Lei Ying, because in the war, the death of the 3 generations of Lei Ying can bring great convenience to their Yenian village. In contrast, killing Muyun is just to vent his anger, and it has no benefit to the village. Yan, the most important thing is that all the abilities of the 3 generations of Raking are on the bright side, but Muyun is different from the 3 generations of Raking. He is not clear about the abilities that Muyun has. So Oyemu chose to endure, at least until he discovered Muyun's weakness or had a way to deal with Muyun. He still decided not to provoke it. No matter how important the Toying building is, it is only a symbol. If it is gone, it can be rebuilt. That is really dead. This order of onogi made all the ninjas in Iwayan village suddenly change color. Among the ninja world, there are only a handful of people who can get this honor. Whether it is the original Konoha White Fang or the Golden Glitter, they are all famous. The top powerhouse in the shock ninja world, and now there is another such powerhouse. After leaving Yenian village within a few dozen kilometers, I felt that no one was following in the domineering, and the corner of Mu Yun's mouth slowly flowed out. Bloodstain. Lao Zi, who was following Mu Yun, noticed this change immediately and hurriedly asked, Mu Yun, what's the matter with you? Mu Yun waved his hand and said, I underestimated Daemu. Chendun is worthy of being eliminated by blood, and its power is really amazing. During the battle just now, Mu Yun did not completely escape the attack of Daemu Chendun, and already suffered a lot of internal injuries. Fortunately, Mu Yun's strength is strong enough, otherwise, I am afraid that he really explained it there. The long-standing old guy is really not to be underestimated. Lao Zi said with a solemn expression, are you okay now? Chendun's attack power is very terrifying. Once hit, it is not a small problem. Having lived in Yenian village for so many years, Lao Su has a good understanding of the big wild wood, so he also has a deep understanding of the power of Chendun. Even a tailed beast, if it is hit directly by Chendun, it will not be easy. Don't worry, although I suffered a little injury, it is not too serious, and it will be fine after recovering for a while. Seeing that Mu Yun's face was still normal, it didn't seem like she was holding on, Lao Zi was relieved. By the way, now you are no longer a ninja in Yenian village, where are you going? Chapter 142 Change of Mood. Lao Zi was silent for a moment, then said, after living such a long life, I suddenly found that there is nowhere to go. There is no place for me in the huge ninja world. This old man's life is really a failure. Mu Yun smiled and said, are you interested in coming to Konoha? Lao Zi first glanced at Mu Yun gratefully, and then said, don't worry about the old man. Konoha is not the home of the old man, at least not now. I used to be a ninja in Yenian village, and made a big name. Joining Konoha directly, it is difficult to integrate into it again, and I can only wait for a suitable opportunity in the future. Now, let's go to the ninja world first. I haven't faced this familiar and unfamiliar world with a relaxed mind for a long time. Mu Yun nodded and did not persuade any more. Lao Zi is right, his strength is undeniable, but also, the more powerful the ninja, the more difficult it is to integrate into a strange environment, because everyone will be wary of you. The longer you go, the more you can feel the cruelty of this world. Except for the place where you have been since you were born, it is difficult for other places to accept your existence. This is the origin of the fallen leaves. Out of a kunai, handed it to Lao Zi, and said, since you have already decided, then I won't say much. You hold this kunai. If there is anything that can't be solved in the future, you can inject chakra into the kunai, and I will arrive at that time. Lao Zi accepted Kuwu and said, thank you, when you have your own power, the old man will definitely join your subordinates and repay the kindness of not killing. What Mu Yun was waiting for was Lao Zi's words, nodded and said goodbye. Then, let's part ways here, I'm going back to Konoha, and we'll meet again. Lao Zi nodded, turned and walked in the other direction. The back looks a bit lonely, but also a bit relieved. Looking at Lao Zi's back, Mu Yun said, what an extremely stubborn old man, but yours it is estimated that my career in the ninja world will not be too long. For Lao Zi, Mu Yun is bound to get it. This level of powerhouse is almost impossible to find. There are very few in the entire ninja world. Each of them is a strong person who can be alone. Returning to your subordinates plays a pivotal role in both your own plans and future development. Hey, Lao Zi, have you really decided to join that guy's command? The four tails in Lao Zi's body lay lazily on the ground and asked casually. Lao Zi was stunned for a moment, then said, what's the matter, son, don't you support my decision? Siwei immediately shook his head and said, I care about these little things. I am the Monkey King of the Water Curtain Cave in the dignified Wagwo Mountains. By the way, you bastard remember my name. A smile on Lao Zi's face, and he said, if the old man doesn't call out, it doesn't mean that the old man has forgotten. Four Tails twisted neck, and said, yes. The smile on Lao Zi's face was even thicker, and he said, let's call you son. I know that you, the stubborn old man, didn't remember it, and you are still stubborn. Four Tails closed their eyes and ignored Lao Zi. Ding! Congratulations to the host, defeating the third generation of Soil Shadow Onogi, rewarding 50,000 reinforcement points. On the way back to the village, the voice of the system came from Muyun's mind. Muyun's defeat of Daemu is not within the scope of the quest, so there are still rewards. In this way, Muyun's reinforcement points have skyrocketed to 200,000 again. I didn't expect this old man Daemu to be quite valuable, I'll wait for it later. If the strengthening points are not enough, just go to him and brush a wave, it is really good. Daemu, who was in Yenian village, which was dozens of kilometers away, shuddered suddenly, and a bad premonition occurred in his heart, but he couldn't find the reason. As everyone knows, Muyun had already made up his mind at this time. On him, he is regarded as a strengthening point extractor. If Daemu knew the truth, I wonder if he would forcefully kill Muyun at the cost of tens of thousands of ninjas. Unfortunately, Daemu did not know. Muyun did not use Feiyin. Lei Shen teleported back. At this moment, Muyun felt that it was quite good to walk in the ninja world on foot like this. This feeling made Muyun's heart very relaxed. All along, Muyun has been working hard to become stronger, and even a moment don't dare to relax, in order to face the future Ludao Obito, Ludaoban and Otsutsuki Kagaya. Muyun doesn't dare to relax in the slightest. The strength of future enemies is more terrifying than each other, and even in the end, there will be Otsutsuki Jinchi, etc. People, if you can't keep up with the speed at which your strength becomes stronger, you can't control your own destiny. Actually, Muyun himself doesn't want to live in the days of cultivating and fighting all day long, but in order to control his own destiny, he doesn't want to. Being controlled by the will of others, Muyun has been working hard all the time. Occasionally, when he relaxes like this, Muyun feels an unprecedented ease in his heart, and even his sense of domineering has increased a lot, and his perception range has increased from 25. The kilometer has expanded to 35 kilometers. It seems that my nerves were too tense for a while, it seems that I need to relax properly. After walking for 5 days, Muyun came to the gate of Konoha. Along the way, Muyun's speed was always kept at a level that was neither fast nor slow, so it took so much time. Mr. Muyun, you back? Azumo Ziti looked at Muyun and said in surprise. In the Konoha collapse plan, Muyun's performance was recognized by most of Konoha's ninjas, including the gatekeeper ninja Azumo Tai. Muyun said hello to Azumo Ziti friendly, and went back to his home. At a glance, he saw Yumi Koizumi who was cooking lunch. Hearing the footsteps, Yumi Koizumi turned his head and glanced behind him. At that moment, the spatula in his hand fell directly to the ground, making a crisp sound. Immediately after, crystal tears fell from Koizumi Yumi's eyes. During the time that Muyun was away, she had dreamed countless times. Having seen this scene, she was afraid that this time it was just a dream. It wasn't until Muyun's palm was gently placed on her cheek that she suddenly reacted and hugged Muyuni. Fei Lu reminded you. Collection of 3 things to read, recommend. Chapter 143 Minister of Darkness. You're finally back. Muyun in one hand, Yumi Koizumi said with a choked expression. He didn't dare to relax the strength of Muyun in his arms, as if he was afraid that Muyun would disappear in the next moment. Gently stroking Yumi Koizumi's back, Muyun said softly, "Yeah, I'm back, it looks like I'm back. You've had a very unhappy time during this time." Koizumi Yumi rubbed her eyes and said, "Just come back, nothing else matters." He kissed Yumi Koizumi lightly, and after Yumi Koizumi was ready, Muyun went to Hokage's office after eating. He entered Hokage's office. Muyun saw Tsunade sitting at the desk processing documents. Hearing the movement, Tsunade raised his head, and after seeing Muyun, a smile appeared on his face. 157. Said, "You're back." After speaking, Tsunade's face suddenly changed. He came to Mu-yun and looked at Mu-yun carefully, and said, "You are injured." There was a hint of surprise in Mu-yun's eyes, and he said, "I still haven't been able to hide from you, as expected of the strongest medical ninja." Tsunade ignored Mu-yun's words, but asked solemnly, "How is the injury?" In Tsunade's point of view, with Mu-yun's current strength, the ninja world can be as big as possible, and it is definitely not a mediocre generation to make Mu-yun injured. Mu-yun smiled bitterly and said, "The injury is not serious, rest. It is estimated that I can recover in half a month, and it will not affect my performance." Looking at Tsunade's searching eyes, Mu-yun knew that he couldn't hide it, and sooner or later this matter would come out. Thinking of this, Mu-yun said, "I went to Yenian village and fought with Oyemu, it was me. Underestimate Oyemu, his dust escape is really powerful." Hearing this, Tsunade's face changed suddenly, and he said, "You were hit by Chen Dun." Tsunade's tone is full of solemnity. She knows how terrifying Onogi's dust escape is. It is called the ultimate forbidden technique of blood slaughter, which can decompose all hit objects into atoms. Form. In other words, once it is hit, it will become nothingness. Mu-yun repeatedly explained that he is not serious, but Tsunade insisted on giving Mu-yun a full body check, but he couldn't beat Tsunade. The decision, Mu-yun can only agree. It was not until he saw the inspection results that Tsunade suddenly breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's really not a big problem, this is really great." Mu-yun looked at Tsunade helplessly and said, "I told you I was fine, but you just didn't believe it, so believe it now." Hearing Mu-yun's words, Tsunade suddenly said with an angry voice, "You dare to attack Yenian village alone, do you think that old guy Onemu is easy to mess with? Also, didn't you go with that guy Jiraiya? Have you practiced the immortal mode? Since that guy knows the seriousness of the matter, why didn't he stop you?" Mu-yun smiled and said, "I am the only one about this matter, and I didn't tell Jiraiya. I guess he still thinks that I have returned to the village long ago." Hearing Mu-yun's words, Tsunade immediately put his hand on his forehead, helpless. Looking at Mu-yun, Tsunade was really speechless about Mu-yun's character. Returning to Hokage's office again, Tsunade was silent for a while and said, "Mu-yun, I have an idea that I want to discuss with you." Hearing Tsunade's warm and soft tone, Mu-yun was greatly surprised. This was the first time Mu-yun heard Tsunade speak in such a tone. Mu-yun said, "Let's hear what you think." Tsunade looked at Mu-yun seriously and said, "I want you to take over the position of Minister of Anbu, I don't know what you think." Tsunade made this decision after careful consideration. The current Minister of Anbu, Tsunade is not familiar with it. Tsunade is not very clear about the strength of the other party. Moreover, as the Minister of Anbu, the other party has made no achievements during his tenure in office. Compared with Hitaki Sakumo, it is a world of difference. Perhaps there is a reason for the difference in strength, but as the strongest armed force in Tsunade's hands, it is also the strongest armed force in Konoha. Tsunade still wants to put this "give your position to someone you trust." When I first took office, I couldn't start doing this right away, but after getting familiar with it for a while, Tsunade came up with this idea. And as Anbu, Tsunade found that the whole Anbu was actually looking for there are not a few powerful ninjas, which also shows that the development of Anbu is obviously going backwards. The most important thing is that Mu-yun is now the 6th Hokage in Tsunade's heart, so Minister Anbu is a good transition stage. I can get in touch with a lot of things in advance. Tsunade has another purpose in making this decision, that is to see Mu-yun's ability, and also have the idea of letting Mu-yun cultivate her own team. She has already eaten without a team. The loss of the superior, I don't want Mu-yun to do the same. Hearing Tsunade's words, Mu-yun showed a trace of confusion on his face, and said, "You are serious about letting me be the Minister of Anbu?" Mu-yun is too aware of the importance of the position of the Minister of the Anbu Ministry. It can be said that if the Minister of the Anbu Ministry and Hokage are not in harmony, then the village will immediately fall into civil strife. This is an extremely important position. Of course, if you want to compete with the Hokage, you will also it needs enough strength, Just right, Muyun satisfies this condition. Isn't Tsunade afraid that he will go against her when he ascends the throne? It seems that he can see the inner thoughts of Muyun, and Tsunade said, I think you should have already thinking of the importance of this position. Rather than handing this position to others, it is better to give it to you. Muyun was silent for a while and said, then you are 5. 7. Why not do it yourself? A wry smile appeared on Tsunade's face, and he said, if possible, I would like to do the same, but now Anbu has been weak for a long time, plus the trauma that Danzo caused to Anbu when he was alive before, Anbu is now in a daze. It's the hardest time since its inception. At this time, Anbu needs a person with strong strength, unlimited potential, and a sharp edge to lead the recovery. This person is only the most suitable for you. At that time, the ninjas you cultivated will all be your confidants. Do you understand what I mean? Muyun's eyes flashed, and he finally understood what Tsunade meant. To put it bluntly, Tsunade just wanted him to cultivate his own team, so that he could take over the position of Hokage. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 144 Cancel the Elders. As far as Muyun's plan is concerned, promising Tsunade has only advantages and no disadvantages. As soon as he thought of this, Muyun nodded and said, no problem, I promise. Upon receiving Muyun's answer, Tsunade's face burst into a charming smile and said, I am relieved that Anbu has you to lead me. Since taking office, Tsunade has felt deeply tired, and this Anbu minister is too conservative, which is not a good thing for her. Relatively speaking, once Muyun becomes Anbu minister, although it may cause trouble, a lot of dissatisfaction, but obviously the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. At this moment, the door of Hokage's office was pushed open, and Mito Kaoru and Kaharu strode into the office. Tsunade, we absolutely do not allow it. Muyun succeeds the minister of the Dark Ministry. Mito Menyon glanced at Muyun, and although there was a hint of fear in his eyes, he still said. Tsunade frowned and said, why do I need 30 reasons? In my opinion, Muyun is the most suitable choice to be the minister of the Anbu. Whether it is strength or prestige, Muyun is enough, and I believe that Muyun can make the Anbu develop better. Tsunade's tone contained a strong sense of impatience. Since taking office, these two old guys have been pointing fingers at her decision, which made her very annoying. She really couldn't understand that the 3 generations of Hokage set up this. What is the purpose of the elders? You must know that in the period of the first Hokage and the second Hokage, there was no elder group of Lao Shizi. As Hokage, even her decision can be interfered, so, what is the meaning of Hokage's existence? Arriving at the impatient tone in Tsunade's tone, Mito Menyon still said, Muyun's strength and prestige are indeed enough, but you have forgotten a problem, that is, Muyun is only 12 years old now. Since the establishment of Konoha, there has never been such a young minister of Anbu. The age limit is destined to make Muyun relatively immature in considering issues. Turning to bed, Xiaochun also opened his mouth and said, yes, Tsunade, Menyan is right, if we wait a few more years, we have absolutely no opinion on Muyun as minister of the Anbu, but now is not the time. To refute, Muyun had already stood up and said, since when did you 2 old fellows be able to interfere with Hokage's decision? As the leader of Konoha Hokage are you? Mito Menyon's heart froze, and he immediately retreated, but for the benefit of himself and others, he still bite the bullet and said, the leader of Konoha is naturally Hokage. However, the elders have the right to prevent some mistakes of Hokage and protect Konoha's interests. This is the rule set by Sarutobi when Sarutobi was still alive. Yun's eyes became colder and colder, Mito's voice became quieter and quieter, until the end, it was inaudible, and a lot of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. If Muyun really went crazy, maybe he would kill them directly. But for the sake of profit, he had to speak again. The current Anbu minister has not made much achievements, but because of this, their profit benefits are guaranteed. If Konoha's 2 most powerful people are all replaced by iron-blooded figures, then their interests will suffer huge losses. They have been blinded by power and desire, and they have long since lost their ability to respond. Some are rational and only want to protect their own interests to the greatest extent, but they forget Muyun's methods. Looking at Mito Gaetyan, Muyun said indifferently, "You said it yourself, this is the third generation of Hokage. The rules of the reign period, but now is the reign of the 5 generations of Hokage. The rules of the 3 generations of Hokage still want to restrain the 5 generations of Hokage." Quote. Mito Manyon was watched by Muyun's indifferent eyes, and suddenly felt that the speed of blood flow had slowed down a lot, as if a big hand was strangling his throat. He opened his mouth, but did not make a sound. Muyun deliberately controlling his aura, he didn't shroud Xiaochun, and sure enough, Xiaochun, who didn't feel Muyun's terrifying aura, spoke as expected. "Muyun, pay attention to the way you speak. Although the 3 generations of Hokage have passed away, but he died in battle to protect the village, and the 5 Hokage just took office. Did he want to destroy the will of his ancestors?" Muyun was just waiting for these words, and at the moment when Xiaochun's voice fell, Muyun said, "Hehe, according to you, when the first Hokage was in power, there was no elder group. I don't want to destroy the will of the ancestors, so there is no need for this bullshit elder group to exist." As soon as Muyun finished speaking, Xiaochun and Mito Manyon both changed color. Xiaochun really didn't expect that Muyun was waiting for her here. Before she knew it, she fell into the language trap set by Muyun in advance. In front of Muyun, it seemed that she was only a 12-year-old boy, and Muyun was an old fox who had lived for decades normal. Muyun's terrifying aura and murderous aura were released directly. He didn't give the two a chance to speak, and said directly, "One, if you take the initiative to resign from the elders, you can still spend your old age in peace. After all, you guys in the past have also made a lot of contributions to Konoha, but if you want me to help you, I can only choose a luxurious cemetery for you." Turning to bed, Xiaochun opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he was grabbed by Mito Manyon by the side. At this time, Mito Manyon was already wet with cold sweat, and said with a trembling voice, "Needless to say, we will step down from the position of Elder Konoha and will no longer be involved in all political affairs of Konoha. Xiaochun, let's go." Pulling Xiaochun to bed, Mito Kadori walked out of Hokage's office with heavy steps. As soon as he got out of the office, Mito Kadome gasped for breath. The situation of Xiaochun was not much better after going to bed. Since the 3rd generation came to power, these old guys have gradually grasped the power and indulged in the power. Counting them down, they have not fought for a long time. That blood has long been abandoned to the corner, and even the courage has become very small. Until now, there are only the 2 of them left, and it may be a good choice to stay in Konoha to spend his old age. Chapter 145 3 years later. After thinking about the key point, Mito Manyon suddenly felt a lot lighter in his heart, and the huge psychological burden that had always been there suddenly disappeared, and only felt a smooth feeling in his heart. Glancing at the very ugly face of Xiaochun, Mito Manyon said, "Xiaochun, we have lived for such a long time, we have already owned everything we should have, and it is time to take a break. I hope you can see through all this. If you are still obsessed, it will only make you die faster. I hope you can think about it." After saying that, Mito Manyon strode away directly, ignoring Kaharu's reaction when he turned to bed, and his back looked like a sense of relief. Maybe for Mito Manyon at this time, everything is no longer important. Even if it is turning to bed, Xiaochun's reaction will not have the slightest effect on his psychology. Watching Mito Gaetyan turn and leave, turning to bed, Xiaochun's eyes flickered with unexplainable light, and finally he sighed and watched with nostalgia. She glanced at the Naruto building, and turned to leave. But unlike Mito Kadori, her back was less relieved and a little more twilight. Always in Hokage office, Muyun, who was observing all this with a domineering look, suddenly he opened his mouth and said, "Tsunade, let Mito Kazuya make a name for himself in the ninja school, and let him teach the students of those schools. As for Xiaochun, let her be an ordinary person." Maybe someone can deceive Muyun's eyes, but the domineering look can't be deceived. Under the domineering look, Muyun can clearly feel the psychological changes of Mito Manyon. Tsunade's expression is obviously stunned, said, Didn't you already cancel the elders? Why do you want Mito to manage the ninja school? The ninja school is not an insignificant place. Also, why is it Mito Manyan? Muyun smiled and said, there is no reason. A person's mood and psychology change very quickly. Aside from desire, Mito Manyan still has deep feelings for Konoha. As long as he can let go of the pursuit of power, Mito Gateyan will definitely do his best to cultivate the younger generation for Konoha. Tsunade nodded thoughtfully, and suddenly asked, have you already thought about canceling the elders group and even designed it to let Xiaochun fall into the trap you designed? Muyun did not answer this question, but said, isn't the current result very good? The two looked at each other and laughed tacitly. At night, Muyun stayed in his bedroom and said, system, use 200,000 strengthening points to strengthen my body. This time, the strengthening process lasted for half an hour before it ended. Muyun could feel the terrifying power flowing in his body. Host, Muyun. Age, 13 years old. Physique, 290. Strength, 109. Speed, 209. Spirit, 209. Thunder attribute natural energy. 50,000 can be ingested and used at any time. Strength rating, shadow level. Close black lens bracket, is it still not able to reach the super shadow level? Look at your own attributes. Ban, Muyun slowly frowned. Originally within his expectation, 200,000 reinforcement points were enough for him to be promoted to the super shadow level, but in the end there was no breakthrough. Ding, the system prompts. The breakthrough of the shadow level is different from the past. The host's current body is only 12 years old. Forcible breakthrough will only affect the host's true combat power. Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket. The strengthening energy has not been exhausted, and the host's physique will be slowly changed in the following time. Let all breakthroughs become a matter of course. Ask the host whether to force a breakthrough. Note, during the forced breakthrough, the damage caused by the host's body will consume additional strengthening points to make up for it. It turns out that this is the case, then it is slow. Come on, I don't want to spend extra boosting energy. After understanding the reason, Muyun is not in a hurry. It is not that he cannot break through, but it will only consume additional strengthening energy. Muyun has no such idea. Uncertain. Time is in a hurry. 3 years have passed quickly. In the past 3 years, under the leadership of Muyun, Anbu gradually recovered his strength, and the number of elite ninjas gradually increased. The most important thing is that Muyun kept injecting fresh blood into Anbu. Until now, the entire Anbu has almost become Muyun's speech. At this moment, Muyun's strength has also successfully broken through to the super shadow level. Host, Muyun. Age, 16. Physique, 350. Strength, 350. Speed, 350. Spirit, 350. Underscore. Close black lens bracket. Looking at his attribute panel, Muyun nodded with satisfaction. 3 years of precipitation allowed his strength to break through smoothly. In fact, as early as half a year ago, Muyun's strength had already broken through. However, it may not be easy to break through to the 6th level, and the reinforcement points required are estimated to be massive. Trace of sadness flashed on Muyun's face, and it quickly disappeared, but there is no need to worry too much. My strength is not something that can be reflected in the attribute panel. The statistical method of the system is very different from that of the ninja world. My current strength is placed in the ninja world, and it is estimated that even if it is the peak of Senju Shima, I will not be an opponent. Muyun is not bragging, not to mention that his Li Jiao's physical attributes are very balanced. Just ingesting the natural energy of the thunder attribute that can be used at any time is an unreasonable abnormal ability. What a mortal body chakra, tail beast chakra, even as long as the energy required to attack does not exceed the upper limit of 70,000, his energy is infinite. At this point, even Jiwei can't be compared with him. After all, Jiwei is only known as the infinite investigation, its only carrot. Going back to the bottom, there is still a limit. Moreover, the combat power he can burst out far exceeds the evaluation of the system. After all, the system only divides the realm that Muyun is currently out of, not Muyun's fighting power. On this day, Naruto, who had been practicing with Jiraiya for 3 years, also returned to the village. 3 years, not only Muyun's strength has improved terrifyingly, but so has Naruto, who has reached the strength of the elite Junin. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 146 Haruno Sakura spoils the atmosphere. At this time, Naruto not only mastered the spiral pill shuriken, but also mastered the immortal mode, much earlier than in the original book. Muyun, I'm back. Naruto found Muyun and said as soon as they met. Muyun nodded and said, yes, in 3 years, your strength has grown rapidly, and you are not the same as you were before. The normal state, Naruto has the strength of elite Jonin. If he enters the immortal mode, it is a proper shadow level, but it is not long-lasting. Of course, this is the result obtained after excluding the 9 tails. After all, Naruto the strength is not stable at all, and the leap is very big. Thank you for your praise, Muyun. I want to invite everyone to dinner in the evening. Just go to your favorite barbecue restaurant. Do you want to come together? Looking at Naruto's sincere expression, Muyun said, it seems that your wallet has swelled up in the past 3 years, and you dare to invite me to dinner. Naruto smiled and said, I have received a lot of tasks in the past 3 years. Do you want to come? Muyun nodded and said, okay, we haven't been together for a long time. There was some emotion in Muyun's heart. How difficult Naruto's life was before. Muyun was deeply touched, and he couldn't even eat a bowl of ramen. The current Naruto is completely different from before. After meeting Jiraiya, he has left that hard way of life, and the whole person has become a lot more confident. Thinking of this, Muyun said to Jiraiya, Jiraiya, well done. The person who got the compliment was also a little confused and said, what do you mean? Muyun shook his head without saying a word, making Zila even more confused, but he didn't ask any further. Evening, the whole class of the original ninja school had already arrived in the Chudao barbecue restaurant, except Sasuke. Naruto was bleeding a lot this time, and all the ingredients of the entire barbecue restaurant were bought by Naruto. If I remember correctly, this should be our first meeting after graduation. With a smile on his face, Iruka said, Muyun, I, the teacher, didn't give you any gifts when you became a Jonin, and I didn't give you any gifts when you became the minister of Anbu. It's really a dereliction of duty. Muyun shook his head and said, Mr. Iruka, I don't lack anything, it's the same whether I give it or not, I don't really care about these things. Muyun naturally knows about Iruka's intentions. If it were someone else, he might be just a little bit too close, but Iruka is not such a person. Teacher Iruka, don't be polite, you really don't care about this things. Didn't I also give gifts? Naruto smiled and said to Iruka. Iruka looked at Naruto's heartfelt smile and said, Naruto, seeing you like this now, as a teacher, I'm really happy, you've all grown up a lot. Ino said, on the day of today's meeting, stop talking about this kind of topic, and say something happy. For a time, everyone opened their hearts and chatted. Only Ji was sitting in the seat, with a very low sense of existence. Muyun, who noticed this scene, stepped forward and said to Jinai, Jinai, although it has been so long, you still have a sense of existence. Lo's fate still hasn't changed. A few black lines appeared on Shino's forehead, and he said, I can't refute your words like that. Muyun laughed, and the sense of distance gradually disappeared for a while, and the restraint when facing Muyun gradually disappeared, as if back to when he was in school. Shikamaru said, when you were in school, you were the best excellent, after graduating now, your achievements are also the most dazzling among us, and it is really a disappointing achievement. Lu Wan, who has never liked to talk, said so many words in one breath, which made Muyun slightly surprised and said, I've never seen you feel so emotional before. Shikamaru directly curled his lips and said, I just like silence, it doesn't mean I like Shino's way of life. Shikamaru's words directly hurt Shino 10,000 points again, making everyone laugh. Just when the atmosphere was very cheerful, Haruno Sakura said, "It's a pity that Sasuke is not here, otherwise this party will be more lively. If only I could bring Sasuke back in the first place, that would be great." Haruno Sakura's words made the atmosphere suddenly condense, and a trace of unhappiness appeared on everyone's faces. Muyun looked gloomy and said, "Why do you always like to break our cheerful atmosphere? Is it because I didn't teach you enough lessons?" This time, even Naruto said, "Sakura, this time is our party. We agreed not to talk about this topic, why did you bring it up again?" Naruto was not stupid, he could hear that Haruno Sakura's words contained a kind of rebuke to Muyun. Naruto finally organized this party, but he didn't want to be ruined. Seeing Naruto's face, Muyun endured and didn't have a direct attack, but after Haruno Sakura interrupted, the atmosphere was very pleasant at first. Dinner has changed. After the dinner was over, everyone left one after another, and on the way home, Muyun's expression was a little gloomy. Seeing Muyun's expression, Ino said, "Are you still angry about what happened just now?" Muyun shook his head and said, "I'm not that stingy yet, I just feel a little pity, this guy Haruno Ying is helpless." Hinata also said, "Sakura is indeed going too far, the atmosphere of the party was ruined by her alone." Originally, Hinata would not judge a person easily, but just now she clearly felt the change in the atmosphere before and after Haruno Sakura spoke, and she felt a little unhappy in her heart. Muyun said, "Forget it, don't want these things anymore, what happens in the future is her own business, has nothing to do with us, there is no need to ruin her mood for an irrelevant person." Muyun threw his dissatisfaction with Chunye Sakura out of his mind, then returned to his home with the second daughter, and after instructing the second daughter to practice, the second daughter left. Of course, during the training, Muyun also took advantage of it, and his hands explored almost every inch of the two girls' skin. I have to say that the scale of Hinata is really amazing, but now, Muyun can hardly cover it with one hand. In this respect, Ino is still a lot worse than Hinata. Feilu reminds you. Read 3 Things Favorites, recommended. Chapter 147 The Real Flying Four. Lord Muyun, Lord Hokage, please go to the office. Morning, just as Muyun got up, an Anbu appeared in front of Muyun and knelt down and said. Muyun frowned and said, "Go down first, Firefox." This Anbu was the Firefox of the Itachi squad at the beginning, and now he is the team leader of Anbu, and his strength is also an elite Jonin. Seeing Firefox disappear, Muyun frowned. Tsunade sent someone to find him, it was definitely not a trivial matter. After talking to Yumi Koizumi, Muyun went directly to the Hokage office. As soon as I opened the door of the office, I saw Jiraiya, Kakashi and others here, and even Naruto. Upon seeing this battle, Muyun immediately became somewhat aware of Tsunade's purpose for calling him here. Guessing, it may be that Orochimaru and Sasuke appeared together. Sure enough, Tsunade said, "Muyun, I just received reliable news that Orochimaru and Uchiha Sasuke appeared in the Country of Fire, the purpose is unknown. According to the danger of Orochimaru, I plan to let you take Naruto on a trip." Muyun frowned and said, "Sunsho, I don't think I need to take action. Zilla is enough to contain Orochimaru alone, and Naruto's current strength is not what it used to be, and the two of them are more than enough." Tsunade said, "Are you really not going to go?" Muyun shook his head and said, "I'm developing a new move recently, and now is the critical moment, so I don't want to interrupt unless it's a last resort." Tsunade pondered for a while and said, "That's fine, but you need to send a few elite ninjas from Anbu to follow. I'm afraid that Orochimaru will have something behind." Muyun nodded and said, "No problem, I will send 3 elite Shainjin to follow them, yes, including Yamato." Although Yamato's Mudden only has the ability to engage in greening, it is still useful in the face of emergencies, such as when Naruto runs rampant. Mudden's suppression of tailed beasts is too strong. Even if it is Yamato's, the weakened version of Mudun can effectively restrain the tailed beast chakra. Hearing Muyun's words, Tsunade was relieved. Tsunade naturally knew about Yamato, although the other party got her grandfather's cells transplanted. Mu done, but Tsunade does not reject Yamato. After all, Yamato is also a victim of Danzo's hands, and he is not willing to transplant intercolumnar cells, so Tsunade can still tell the truth. After Jiraiya set off with Naruto, Muyun also returned home again, then packed up his things, and then went directly to the forest outside Konoha. What Muyun said to Tsunade was not a move that was being developed. While lying to Tsunade, he is now developing new moves, his own brand new Flying Thunder God technique, a true god. Over the past few years, Muyun's understanding of the Flying Thunder God technique has become more and more important. The help of strengthening points, his understanding of time and space ninjutsu is already very advanced. Now Muyun is developing a move that can move in space with the sound of thunder fruit. Once successful, Muyun's strength will be explosive growth. With the control of Muyun, within the domineering, a layer of electromagnetic field is directly enveloped within a radius of 50 kilometers. This is the 10,008th experiment, and I think it is not far from success. Muyun took a deep breath, changed the movement of the magnetic field 15 kilometers away, and integrated the technique of the Flying Thunder God into the magnetic field in a brand new way. Move. As Muyun's voice fell, the dazzling lightning flashed directly on Muyun's body, and Muyun took the initiative to enter the state of elementalization. Immediately afterwards, countless thunderbolts erupted from Muyun's body, instantly drowning out a few square meters. A kilometer of space. As the thunder and lightning dissipated, the ground within a few kilometers of the surrounding area was in a mess. Hundreds of trees were directly scorched by the thunder and lightning, and even roaring flames rose up. Tsunade, who was far away in the Hokage office, watched looking at the forest outside Konoha. He frowned and said, "Really, I don't know what Muyun is doing. What kind of move can cause so much damage? It seems that it has not been completed yet. What a man who can toss." Shaking his head, Tsunade decided to ignore it. Anyway, the destroyed forests will be recreated with Muyun before Muyun leaves, so there is nothing to worry about. Water done great waterfall technique. Looking at the raging flames, Muyun directly used the huge water escape with a range of more than 1,000 meters, directly extinguished the flames, and continued to ponder. There is no problem with the construction of the electromagnetic field, and there is no problem with incorporating the magic into the magnetic field, but why does it still fail? Muyun racked his brains to think. Since the breakthrough in strength half a year ago, Muyun began to develop this move, but until now, it has failed more than 10,000 times, and still not a single success. Muyun's thinking is 3 for 3 hours in a row. Muyun sat quietly on the ground, thinking about the reason for the failure. What's wrong with the thunder fruit, lightning, magnetic field, and spells? Muyun murmured in a low voice. Suddenly, an aura flashed directly through Muyun's mind, and Muyun shouted out loudly, "That's right, it's thunder and lightning." Although the construction of the magnetic field is the credit of the thunder fruit, the magnetic field is not lightning after all. After elementalization, my body is lightning. If I want to move in space, there must be a medium, and this medium is lightning. Thinking of it, doing it, Muyun once again built an electromagnetic field covering a radius of 50 kilometers with the help of the domineering. This time, the target location is next to a big tree 49 kilometers away. The 10,009th experiment, start. Move. Under the control of Muyun, next to a big tree 49 kilometers away, the magnetic field was quietly changed. At the same time, an almost inaudible electric spark appeared quietly in the rotation of the magnetic field. Muyun's body, which is 49 kilometers away from a big tree, completed elementalization in an instant, and used the magnetic field to directly reach the side of the big tree in less than 1/10,000th of a second. Yun's continued experimentation. His body is constantly flashing within this range, constantly appearing in different positions. Chapter 148 New System Tasks. Within a 50-kilometer radius, Muyun's figure kept flickering, and thousands of Muyun appeared at one time, but they were all afterimages that hadn't dissipated. Finally, it was successful. The place where the domineering can sense, can teleport infinitely, without the need to fly Thunder God Kuei. This is the real flying Thunder God. Was a smile on Mu Yun's face. After going through tens of thousands of trials, it took half a year to finally develop this trick. Mu Yun was very excited. He used Mu Dun to create a patch covering 50 kilometers. After the forest within a mile range, Mu Yun left here. Since he has succeeded, there is no need to stay here. Ding! Congratulations to the host, triggering the system task. Task name: Develop Anbu. 157. Task Introduction. The host has been the minister of Anbu for 3 years, and the strength of Anbu has also been improved, but compared to the entire ninja world, it is still relatively weak. Please recruit at least one shadow-level powerhouse for Anbu, the number is unlimited. Close black lens bracket quest completion reward: 100,000 reinforcement points for each shadow-level powerhouse recruited. Task failure penalty: none. Shadow-level powerhouse. Mu Yun frowned. Shadow-level powerhouses are already considered to be the top combat power in the ninja world, even in the Warring States period. After all, there is only one Senju Hakuma and Uchiha Madara. It is not easy to recruit shadow-level powerhouses. It has been 3 years since Mu Yun became the minister of the Anbu Ministry, and it is evident that he has not cultivated a shadow-level powerhouse. However, it is difficult to have a challenge, and it is not impossible. At least a shadow-level powerhouse is still very good. Hopeful. At this moment, the figure of Lao Zi suddenly appeared in Mu Yun's mind. It has been 3 years since Yanyan village separated, and I don't know how this old man is doing. Act now. Mu Yun murmured, I want to bring Lao Zi back before Xiao organization. As a four-tailed person, Lao Zi is naturally one of the goals of Xiao's organization. If Xiao's organization takes out the 4 tails from Lao Zi's body, Lao Zi will be dead. However, if I take Lao Zi away, take it away. If there are no 4 tails, can the 10 tails be resurrected? And if the 10 tails cannot be resurrected, then it will also affect my plan. Mu Yun frowned. Forget it. Let's take a step by step, and it is estimated that even if there is no Lao Zi, they will find a way to get the 4-tailed chakra. Mu Yun threw this thought out of his mind, ignored it, and returned home. Mu Yun, you're back. Mu Yun's house. Hina is busy in the kitchen, and she looks like a good wife and good mother. Mu Yun, I have learned a few new dishes. I'm making it for you to eat and see if you like it. Turning his head to Mu Yun and smiling brightly, Hinata was immersed in the joy of cooking, while Mu Yun looked at Hinata's back, and his heart was very warm. I have to say that Hinata's cooking skills are really not top-notch. The dishes are full of flavors and aromas. Just looking at them makes Mu Yun's appetite open. Picking up the chopsticks, Mu Yun took a sip and immediately praised. Good, tastes good, just absolutely amazing. My Hinata is amazing. Hinata blushed and said, how can you? Mu Yunjin will make fun of me. By the way, why is Sister Yumi not here today? Listening to Hinata's words, Mu Yun said, these days she said that she would strengthen her training, and her strength has been delayed since this time, so she said that she would make it up, and she came back very late every day. Home. Thinking of what Yumi Koizumi said to herself, the corners of Mu Yun's mouth twitched. In order not to drag Mu Yun down in the future, Yumi Koizumi put her practice on the agenda again. I don't want to be able to help Mu Yun, but at least I can't hold back Mu Yun. This is what Koizumi Yumi really thinks. Although Mu Yun doesn't need it, it doesn't stop him. He doesn't want his woman to be a vase. After eating, Hinata went to clean up the dishes, while Mu Yun and Hinata fought after saying hello. He left the house, and then used Flying Thunder God to disappear into Konoha. At the same time, in a small town in the Land of Thunder, Lao Zi was walking on the street, followed by a few ninjas, all of them S Union Ninja. What a nasty guy. I've been following this old man since he entered the Land of Thunder. Are you afraid that this old man will do something bad for Union Village? Old Z sensed the ninja's breath behind him, and was a little irritable. To be honest, he really didn't have such thoughts. He just wandered around, doing bounty tasks and killing bandits when he was bored. This kind of life is very comfortable. The only thing that makes him uncomfortable is that no matter which country he goes to, there will be ninjas watching him from a distance. Although he knows that these ninjas are just to determine whether they will destroy their country, Old Z is still very unhappy. At this moment, Lao Zi's brows suddenly wrinkled, and his whole body is directly in a fighting posture. Chakra is highly condensed, and an awe-inspiring sense of crisis in his heart makes Lao Zi's pupils tighten. The entire Union village can make he was the only one who felt such a sense of crisis. Only Rabbi Yatai Renju Riki, even the fourth Hokage, could not give him such a sense of oppression. Yo, Lao Z, long time no see, your way of greeting is a little rude. Ah. Hearing the familiar voice, Lao Z instantly put down his guard. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and said, Muyun, you suddenly appeared like this. The old man has been surrounded by a group of flies all this time. Of course, he immediately regarded you as an enemy. Pico 5:7 Turning his head, Lao Z saw Muyun standing beside him looking at him with a smile, and a smile appeared on Lao Zi's face. Muyun glanced behind him intentionally or unintentionally, and said, Really, as you say, real nasty flies. This is not the place to talk, come with me. Saying that, Muyun put his hand on Lao Zi's shoulder, and a flying thunder god technique disappeared here. By a small stream 500 kilometers away, Muyun had left behind the flying thunder god technique. However, Muyun believes that with his continuous exploration of this technique, it will be more perfect one day, and then he will completely abandon the technique. Able to move in space. Chapter 149 Violet joins. After stabilizing his body, Lao Z looked at Muyun and asked, This is the flying thunder god technique that resounds in the ninja world, and it's really powerful. Watching Muyun take him across a distance of hundreds of kilometers in an instant, Lao Z was full of amazement. Muyun said, Okay, let's not talk nonsense. Lao Z, I am looking for you this time to want you to join Konoha. I am the minister of Konoha Anbu now, and there are not many powerful ninjas under my hands. I need your strength. Muyun didn't beat around the bush. 3 years ago, when the two of them separated, Lao Z said that if he had power, Lao Z would join unconditionally. Although strictly speaking, Anbu was not a force he created, but he also pretty much the same. When Lao Z heard the words, he was stunned for a moment, and said, The minister of Anbu is really an amazing position. Well, according to the agreement, I agreed. He never thought of refusing. With his character, it is impossible to refuse what he promised. He refused to join Konoha just to travel in the world of shinobi. 3 Besides, Muyun didn't have any specific position in Konoha, so he went to It's useless. Now it's different from before. You can work for Muyun directly by joining Anbu. Lao Z doesn't have much rejection. Is there anything you need to prepare for? If not, I'll take you back to Konoha. Lao Z shook his head and said, In the past 3 years, the old man has only traveled in the world of ninjas, and there is nothing to prepare. Getting Lao Z's answer, Muyun brought Lao Z and a flying thunder god back to Konoha. Everything went very smoothly. Ding! Congratulations to the host, successfully recruiting a shadow-level powerhouse. Reward the host with 100,000 reinforcement points. Close black lens bracket. After returning to Konoha, Muyun brought Lao Z to the Anbu base and summoned all the ninjas in Anbu now. Everyone, I called you here this time to announce one thing. Muyun turned slightly to make Lao Z's figure appear. From today onwards, he is the deputy minister of our Anbu ministry. When I'm not here, you must obey his orders. Muyun's voice fell. All the Anbu ninjas suddenly started talking. Who the hell is the deputy minister of Anbu? How could he be used so much by the minister? I always think this guy looks a little familiar, as if he's seen it somewhere, but I just can't remember it. Being able to be entrusted with an important task by the minister, I am afraid that this guy's strength is very terrifying. You must know that the requirements of the minister are very strict. Listening to the chatter of the Anbu ninjas, Muyun said in a deep voice, Quiet, I'll introduce you next. Next to me, the Vice Minister of Anbu, a shadow-level powerhouse. Once the four-tailed people of Yenian village, Zhu Li, Lao Zi, and Jay served as the deputy minister of Anbu. Muyun's words once again made Anbu ninja, the dignified deputy minister of Anbu, not from Konoha village. The information is very surprising. But in the past 3 years, Muyun's control over Anbu is unquestionable, although everyone can't believe it, but no objection came out. Laozi was also secretly surprised by Muyun's leadership. You must know that everyone's rejection of the outer village ninja is very serious, let alone living in an important position. Even if you enter other villages, you will always be on guard. Especially here as Anbu, the core department of Konoha, but these ninjas have no objection, which is enough to surprise old Z. But he didn't say anything. Since there was no objection, he was also happy to relax. He was relatively silent. Unless he was familiar with or recognized by him, he would say a few more words. After leaving Anbu, Muyun took Laozi to Hokage's office, although he could let Laozi take office without notifying Tsunade, but after all, he had to take care of Tsunade's face, and Tsunade was not bad for himself. Why let Laozi serve as Anbu deputy minister? As Muyun expected, Tsunade immediately jumped into action when he heard the news, looking very excited. Without shyness, Tsunade said, Muyun, it's right to develop Anbu, but it's not appropriate to let the former Iwayan village four-tailed Zuli serve as the deputy director. Tsunade didn't know the relationship between Laozi and Muyun, so he asked this question. After all, as Hokage, he still had to think about Konoha village. Muyun said, Tsunade, don't get excited. Laozi left Yanyan village 3 years ago and is now a wandering ninja, and can be absorbed into Anbu. Also, since I dare to let Laozi join Anbu, I must have absolute confidence. The things you are worried about will not happen. You should always believe in my strength. Muyun knew what Tsunade was thinking. If Laozi entered the Anbu with a scheming plan and inquired about information, then as the deputy minister of the Anbu, Konoha had very few secrets to him. Moreover, Laozi's strength should not be underestimated. Look, as a four-tailed person Zuli, once he goes mad inside Konoha, the damage caused is absolutely immeasurable. Hearing Muyun say this, Tsunade is speechless. She naturally believes in Muyun. Glancing at Laozi and then at 157 Muyun, Tsunade finally sighed and said, Okay, just do as you said. From another point of view, the addition of Laozi can indeed greatly improve the strength of Konoha, but it is not limited to Anbu. Especially in the war, Laozi's strength is very important. The power of the transformed human column can even be worth the force of a ninja army on the battlefield. The risk is definitely there, but it is proportional to the harvest, plus the guarantee of Muyun. Tsunade agreed to this. After thinking about it, Tsunade asked curiously, Muyun, as far as I know, Laozi's temper is exactly the same as that stubborn old man Oyemu. How did you persuade him to join Konoha? Tsunade is really curious about this. People like Laozi can't be threatened, and even death can't make them surrender. But he still decided to cut it off. This is a truth. Muyun smiled and said, Of course I am convinced by my personality charm, right, Laozi? Old Z's face was serious, and he said, In the first battle in Sand Ninja Village, Muyun gave me the kindness of not killing me, and this old man is just to repay the kindness. Chapter 150 Undead Legion. Hearing this, Tsunade rolled his eyes and said to Muyun, Is it exposed on the spot? But Tsunade's heart was not so calm. She also received information about Muyun's battle with Laozi in Sand Ninth Village. After all, the Sand Ninja Village was rebuilt and the old site was reduced to ruins. These things cannot be concealed. What's more, after Gaara and others recovered their injuries, Tsunade sent someone to send them back. Originally, Tsunade just thought that Muyun was slightly better than Muyun. Laozi is only one step ahead, and it is estimated that the whole ninja world is also of this idea. It is amazing that Muyun can defeat Laozi. But after hearing Laozi's words, Tsunade immediately felt that things were not what she imagined. Simple. From Laozi's tone, it's not hard to tell that Muyun had the strength to kill him at that time, but Muyun didn't do it. Only in this way, Laozi would repay his kindness wholeheartedly. If it was only slightly better, Laozi will definitely not have this attitude. Don't look at these guys are old, but they are shrewd in their hearts, but they are not so easy to fool. Mu Yun's head full of black lines, said to Laozi, I said Laozi, it's too blunt, so let me finish my sentence. Seeing Laozi's unconcerned look, Mu Yun immediately pouted, he is indeed a stubborn old man, even 8 horses can't pull back what he has determined. Tsunade smiled brightly and said, okay. It's all right, don't say more, go back, I agree with this matter. Mu Yun walked out of the Hokage office with a depressed expression on his face, and then took Laozi back to his home. After letting Laozi get acquainted with him, he let Laozi return to the Anbu to report his work. 2 months of time slowly however, within the past 2 months, the ninja world was surprisingly calm, nothing happened, it was like a calm lake. But Mu Yun knew that this was just a precursor to the storm. This calm lake, let this calm lake make waves. This day, the stone that disturbed the calm of the lake at this moment and caused the waves finally appeared. According to reliable information, the ghosts of the land of ghosts have gradually awakened, and now the undead army has appeared. Caused a huge loss to the country of ghosts. The most important thing is that the footsteps of the undead army have radiated from the country of ghosts to the 5 major countries. It is estimated that it will not be long before they reach the country of fire. In Naruto's office, all Konoha's upper ninjas gathered and listened solemnly to Tsunade's words. Among them, the most conspicuous one was Naruto, who is still the lower ninja. Considering Naruto's strength and identity, Tsunade asked Naruto to participate. This meeting. Of course, there is still Mu Yun's support among them, otherwise Naruto, no matter how strong he is, would not be able to appear in this office to participate in this meeting. Mu Yun frowned slightly, and said, what a bad character, is there any way to deal with the undead army or just kill the sprites? Mu Yun, who has read the original book, naturally knows what a sprite is. It can be said that this thing has a low attack power, but it is definitely ranked in the top 3 in the Naruto world. Facing sprites, it is almost impossible to kill them, only the ability to kill them. Seal, and judging from the current level of awakening, if you want to seal the other party. It is estimated that it is necessary to sacrifice the life of the witch. Tsunade said, facing the undead army, to be honest, there is no effective means of containment, although their strength is generally not strong, but even if they are destroyed, they can be restored. Perfect. In general, once the Sphinx is fully awakened and the size of the undead army spreads further, before a solution is found, the undead army will appear in the entire ninja world. Tsunade's voice was full of solemnity, and his brows were deeply wrinkled. In the face of this kind of enemy who had almost no obvious weaknesses and could not be eliminated, Tsunade was under great pressure. He was obviously not strong, but he couldn't help the opponent. This made Tsunade with a hot personality very aggrieved. Mu Yun noticed Tsunade's emotions and said, what are you going to do about this matter? It's not just us Konoha who have a headache, right? You must know that according to what you said, the undead army is spreading to the 5 major countries, not just for our country of fire. Tsunade nodded and said, indeed, not only the 5 great ninja villages, but also the other small ninja villages are in turmoil. The situation in our 5 great ninja villages is still good, and those small ninja villages have even fallen into panic. Due to the seriousness of this matter, the 5 major ninja villages have unanimously decided to send ninja troops to the land of ghosts to suppress the undead army, block their footsteps, and try to solve the source of this matter. Was a hint of surprise in Mu Yun's eyes, and he said, the 5 major ninja villages have all sent ninjas, so who will command this unit? I think no matter who this candidate is, other ninja villages will not be convinced. Although the undead legion has begun to spread from the country of ghosts to all around, after all, it has not caused too much trouble, that is, it is difficult to be eliminated, but it can still be sealed. Although the 5 major ninja villages are anxious, but this level the crisis is not enough to let them settle their previous suspicions. Even in the original book, it was only after the outbreak of the Fourth World War that the enemy's strength was known to cooperate together. For this reason, there is still a gap between them, not to mention the fact that we have ordered Tsunade to see it now. Glancing at Muyun, he said, "You guessed right, it is for this reason that the troops sent by Li Jiao, the 5 great ninja villages, do not have a unified leader. The ninja troops sent from each village are responsible for one direction, starting from their own country, compressing the living space of the undead army all the way, until they reach the land of ghosts, and then think about ways to deal with the sprites." Tsunade is also very speechless about this decision. Things have already happened, and he doesn't want to integrate all the forces to directly crush the undead army, and then quickly solve the ghost, but it's still fighting within. It's really stupid. Mu Yun sneered. With a sigh, he said, "As expected, it's really a bunch of stupid guys. Isn't this showing that the sprites have enough time to develop? Wait until the sprite wakes up completely and regains its strength. Do they think they can still deal with it? It's not a tailed beast. This thing has enough intelligence. How can it be so easy to deal with?" Chapter 151. There is no real invincibility. Please subscribe 1. Tsunade also nodded and said, "Although I think so too, but there is no way. There are too many grievances between the 5 major ninja villages, and there is no real trust between them." Tsunade is also very helpless about this, and she herself is the same. She can't trust other ninja village guys at all. Muyun nodded in agreement and said, "So, what are you going to do?" "Our Konoha faction. Who will lead the outgoing ninja army?" Tsunade glanced at Muyun and said, "I think the most suitable candidate is you. You have already reached a very high level in terms of strength and intelligence. The most important thing is that I have to stay and guard Konoha, so I can only let you go. If there is no Muyun, maybe Tsunade will go out in person, but after having Muyun, Tsunade will relax. After all, in terms of strength, Muyun is even above her, and in terms of mind, Muyun is also better than her. It is much stronger." So Muyun didn't go to see Tsunade. Muyun complained, "I knew it was like this. You really know how to arrange work." Smile and said, "This time, Konoha will send 10 superior 157 ninjas, 100 Chunin and 500 lower ninjas to the land of ghosts, and you will lead the team. Kakashi and Matekai will follow you there too." Muyun asked with some doubts, "Is there a shortage of ninjas sent from other ninja villages?" "There must be more than that. You must know that the undead army is very difficult to deal with. Other shinobi villages will definitely go all out. After all, although they have confidence in their own village, the difficulty of the undead army is also clear at a glance. They can't ignore it." Tsunade said, "The number of ninjas sent by shinobi village is about 5 times that of our Konoha, but don't we still have you? If it's not that you don't want to be looked down upon, I even want you to go there alone. After all, with your strength, you can top a ninja army by yourself." Muyun's mouth twitched slightly. This is simply squeezing his labor force. Ding! Congratulations to the host, triggering the system task. Task name: Destroy the sprites. Task introduction: The ghosts and sprites that have existed for a long time in the country of ghosts are about to revive. Ask the host to disintegrate the sprites' resurrection conspiracy and destroy it. Quest completion reward: 500,000 enhancement points. Mission failure penalty: none. Destroy the sprite. Looking at the mission released by the system, Muyun frowned slightly, and said in a dark voice, "If it's a seal, it won't be too difficult, but eliminating the sprites will be tricky. As a monster that has survived for a long time, it seems to be its symbol. It is not an easy task to destroy the other party. Although I feel a little difficult in my heart, the reward of this task is also very attractive. This is the first time the system has given such a huge reward. From the rewards of the system, it can be seen that the sprite is not right, and the reward is impossible. So rich." Looking at Tsunade, Muyun said lightly, "Okay, then I'll go there, but I have a request." Tsunade said almost boldly, "If you have any requirements, just say it directly, I will agree to all." Muyun glanced at Naruto, who was sitting not far away, and said, I want Naruto to follow me, just this one request." Hearing this request, Tsunade's face suddenly became embarrassed, and he said, "Muyun, can you change the conditions? Although there is no danger with you here, but don't be afraid at 10,000, just in case. The importance of Naruto to Konoha is self-evident. If something happens, the blow to Konoha will definitely be unprecedented. Said. Tsunade became more and more embarrassed. She had promised Muyun's words before, but she regretted it in a blink of an eye, which made her feel very shameless. Muyun pouted and said, I only have this one condition. If you don't agree, then you can lead the team to the land of ghosts by yourself. You can rest assured that with me, nothing will happen to Konoha. Tsunade heard the words, the expression on his face was tangled, and he said, yes, I can promise you to bring Naruto, but we must ensure his safety, and must not go wrong. Muyun nodded and said, you can rest assured on this point, no one can hurt Naruto in my hands. Bringing Naruto naturally had Muyun's own consideration. The task of recruiting shadow-level powerhouses released by the system was considered a long-term task, and Naruto could also be recruited. But before that, Muyun still needs to take a good look at Naruto's strength. If Naruto is recruited and the system doesn't approve it, then it's over. The ninja troops left the gate of Konoha, and most of the villagers came out to see them off. Master Muyun, you must return in victory. Lord Muyun, you must defeat the enemy. With Lord Muyun here, our Konoha will definitely win the final victory. It will definitely be possible. At the same time, Hinata, Ino, and Yumi Koizumi also came to Konoha's door, but they didn't open their mouths to shout like other villagers. They just looked at Muyun quietly, with expectation and worry in their eyes. The woman waved her hand, and Muyun's back gradually disappeared at Konoha's gate. Muyun, is that sprite really powerful? Wei, Naruto asked Muyun with a strong fighting intent in his eyes. Muyun nodded and said, speaking of which, its strength may not be very good, it is just difficult to deal with, there is almost no good way to cause effective lethality to it. As for sprites, although Muyun understands them, he doesn't understand them deeply. After all, there is not too much detailed introduction in the original work. Before the real fight, Muyun doesn't know how difficult the opponent is to deal with. It's not very easy anyway. The solution is right. Hearing Muyun's words, Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly, and he asked again, so can we really win? This kind of thing sounds very incomprehensible. Muyun smiled and said, Naruto, I hope you can remember that in this world, there is no real invincibility, and every existence has its own weaknesses, it's just the difference between whether the weaknesses are obvious. If the sprite really has no solution, then it has already ruled the world, how can it be sealed? Chapter 152 The Key to Dealing with Sprites. Hearing Muyun's words, Naruto was also slightly relieved, and said, that's good, I also want to see what the so-called sprite is. Speaking of which, except for some extremely special circumstances, there are very few things that can make Naruto fear. Except for the time when he did not fight again just after graduation, Naruto has no fear, or in other words, strong the psychological quality of the man allows him to overcome most of his fears. At this moment, Kakashi said, I'm afraid things are not that simple. It is enough to prove the difficulty of sprites by being able to dispatch ninjas from the 5 major ninja villages at the same time. The most important thing is that the previous sprites were sealed by the witches of the country of ghosts, but this time it directly alerted the ninjas of the 5 countries. It is estimated that something unpredictable happened. To be said that Kakashi is not only powerful, but also has first-class analytical skills. He immediately saw the essence of the matter. Muyun waved his hand and said, what is the matter? When everything will be clear, there is no need to guess here, the truth will always surface. Kakashi nodded, but the dignified expression on his face remained unchanged, and his heart felt very heavy. To him, even to most ninjas, sprites were unfamiliar, and they had never come into contact with them. That's why there is such a solemn feeling. 2 days later, the ninja army led by Muyun has arrived at the border of the Fire Nation. At this moment, the Undead Legion has begun to be seen one after another, although the number is not large, but it has indeed entered the territory of the Country of Fire. Everyone is ready to fight, From now on, there may be battles every moment. If it happens, don't be careless. After giving the order, Muyun's body turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of an undead legionnaire. He grabbed the opponent's neck with one hand and lifted him up. Muyun's palm twisted slightly, the opponent's neck suddenly made a crisp, click, sound, and then he closed his eyes. Muyun carried the soldier, went directly to the front of the team, and threw it on the ground. After a few seconds, it should have been the undead legionnaire whose neck was twisted and died opened his eyes again, and then rushed towards Muyun. He punched the opponent's head again. Muyun said, "Have you seen the undead legion? Immortality is not just talking about it. Is really able to achieve immortality. No, it shouldn't be said to be immortal, to be precise, it should be able to be resurrected infinitely." While Muyun was talking, he killed several times in a row, but in the end the opponent was able to come back to life. Just this made the faces of the ninjas behind him look solemn, and Kakashi looked at the soldier and said, "Look. The undead army is really difficult to deal with. I don't know if the sealing technique has any effect on them. If it doesn't even work, it will be troublesome." While speaking, the undead legionnaire who was killed by Muyun stood up again. This time, the other party actually looked at Muyun and said, "Even if you kill me 100 times, 1,000 times, I will eventually be able to recover. The undead legion will not be defeated. This world is destined to belong to Lord Sphinx. After such a long time, what belongs to Lord Sphinx, you ninjas will eventually return it. When the time comes, no matter whether it is the 5 great nations or what, they can only bow their heads in front of the Lord, and the whole world will mourn in front of the undead army." Muyun frowned. The soldier of the undead army suddenly said, "If I guessed correctly, you should be talking to me through this body, sprite. Stands to reason that the undead legion is just a dead thing similar to a stone statue, and has no self-consciousness, so Muyun can infer this." There was a stunned emotion from this soldier of the undead legion, which made Muyun even more confirming his guess. With a mocking smile on the corner of his mouth, Muyun said, "Spider, isn't it cool to brag about yourself? I didn't expect that as a monster that everyone fears, he would have the naive idea of bragging about himself. It really surprised me." Perhaps it was Muyun's sarcastic tone that stimulated the spirits, and a sharp voice sounded, "Ninja, don't be too complacent, it's just a mere ninja. My power is completely beyond your imagination. Even the tailed beast you fear is not as good as mine. When I wake up completely, I will rule the whole world." What a foolish thing to do. Oh, I almost forgot to say, you should break through the blockade of my undead legion first. Maybe, you may die in the hands of my undead legion. Hearing this, the expression on Muyun's face became even more contemptuous, and he said, "I had some expectations for you at first, thinking that you were something amazing, but now it seems that it is nothing more than that. A guy who only brags about how powerful he is at best a waste." Hearing Muyun's words, the spry suddenly jumped like thunder, wishing he could directly take action to shred Muyun. But unfortunately, not to mention that Muyun has not yet arrived in the country of ghosts, even it has not fully awakened to break free from the seal, it is impossible to do it at all. To this matter, the furious sprite immediately put down his cruel words. "Ninja, I have to say, you have successfully angered me, then I will focus on taking care of you. You, ready to accept the big gift I gave you?" Ha ha ha. Muyun ignored the sprite's words, stretched out his hand and pressed it on the head of the undead legionnaire, and the violent thunder and lightning immediately covered the opponent's body. With the flashing of the lightning, the opponent's body gradually disappeared under the lightning. At the last moment, the sprite shouted in horror, "You actually possess the power of natural lightning, don't you?" Before the sprite's words were finished, the body had already vanished into ashes, and the Sphinx's last words could not be said. And Muyun lowered his head thoughtfully, analyzing from Spooky's tone, as if his own strength has a great restraining effect on it, so that even sprites can't keep calm. Perhaps, this is the key to dealing with sprites. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read, collect, recommend. Chapter 153 Ringing Thunder, 10 Tigers Kill Each Other. Please subscribe 1. Although Kakashi's expression was still very dignified, he had gained a little confidence and said, "It seems that the so-called sprite is not without weaknesses, perhaps your strength is the key to restraining it." Muyun nodded and said, "It is true, from the sprite's reaction just now, my ability seems to be the key to restraining it, so that it has a panicked mood." For this, Muyun was also very surprised. Originally, he was still thinking about how to completely eliminate the sprites, but now it seems that this may be an opportunity. "I don't want to give up." As the ninja army continued to advance, they encountered more and more soldiers of the undead army. After approaching the border of the country of ghosts, Muyun and others saw the 157 of the undead army. What a huge scale, although I don't want to admit it. But this scale. It's really exaggerated and incredible to look at. The almost black area is full of undead legions. And because the undead legion is different from humans, there is no high wisdom. So their formation is very neat. At first glance, it can bring full visual shock, and these undead legions push all the way. There is almost no need to calculate losses at all. Muyun, a very troublesome character, suddenly frowned. Said, "No, according to the theory, no matter how powerful the undead army is, it will take time to gather, and the number cannot be so huge at the beginning. If there are such a large number of undead army in every direction facing the ninja army of the 5 countries. If so, then they have already radiated to the 5 major countries, and it is impossible to just wander around the country of ghosts." Muyun's speculation is well-founded. It must be known that, unlike humans, the undead army is directly controlled by sprites, and it is almost impossible to think for itself, so it will only push forward violently. So if the scale of the undead army is really so huge, I am afraid it has already hit the range of the 5 major countries. Kakashi frowned and asked, "What do you mean?" Hearing Muyun's words, Kakashi's heart had a bad premonition spontaneously. Muyun glanced at Kakashi and said, "It is estimated that we have received special treatment. It seems that the big gift that the sparrow gave us is not the same." Not an empty talk. As he spoke, the undead army had already charged towards the Konoha ninja army, and the uniform footsteps were very shocking. Muyun shouted, "Prepare to fight. The ninjas who are proficient in sealing techniques should stay behind as much as possible, and wait until the undead army is defeated. Immediately seal it." Following the order of Muyun, the entire ninja army immediately took action. Kakashi rushed out first, flashing a dazzling thunder in his hand, and with the sound of thousands of birds chirping in unison, he directly pierced the chest of an undead legionnaire. Immediately, a ninja proficient in sealing techniques stepped forward and pierced his chest. "Come here," and then launched an attack on other enemies. And Muyun is naturally not idle, as he is in the formation of the undead army. Flickering, the soldiers of the undead legion were solved one after another. Under the attack of Muyun, the formation of the undead legion was gradually disintegrated. Although the formation is well placed, after all, Wei doesn't understand how to shrink the defense and change the formation. Now your formation is destroyed, let's see how you can play. Speaking of which, the undead legion has no merit except being able to be resurrected indefinitely. At least it is not difficult to defeat them. With the actions of the seal ninja, the number of the undead legion is drastically decreasing. Konoha will use the seal. There are not a lot of ninjas, so on Konoha's side, the undead army suffered a big loss. Naruto's body jumped into the air, and then raised one hand high, one high-speed rotating spiral pill shuriken directly formed. Then, facing the densest place of the undead army, Naruto directly put the spiral pill. The shuriken was thrown out. The hissing sound of cutting the air sounded, and the spiral pill shuriken expanded instantly after hitting the target, directly covering a radius of more than 10 meters. Within the attack range, all the undead legionnaires were all killed. The mighty power of the spiral Maru shuriken was torn to shreds. With the sealing technique ninjas stepping forward, just this move directly killed more than a dozen soldiers of the undead army. Muyun looked at the battle in front of him and muttered. Said, "Although the effect is remarkable, the speed of clearing troops like this is still too slow." Taking a deep breath, Muyun suddenly shouted, all the Konoha ninjas retreated and distanced themselves from the undead army. Hearing Muyun's order, the Konoha ninjas started to leave the battle without saying a word, and opened a considerable distance from the undead army. Seeing this, Muyun suddenly stepped out, and a massive amount of thunder and lightning instantly surrounded him. 10 terrifying giant thunder and lightning tigers have formed, exuding enormous coercion. Each giant thunder and lightning tiger is tens of meters in size, and it looks visually stunning. As Muyun's voice fell, 10 thunder and lightning giant tigers rushed out directly and plunged into the undead army. This is really like a tiger entering a flock. The thunder and lightning giant tiger can kill more than a dozen with a wave of its paws at will. A soldier of the undead legion. Even the thunder and lightning on the thunder giant tiger can kill a lot of soldiers. In just a short time, Muyun has earned tens of thousands of reinforcement points, which can be described as extremely terrifying. With 10 thunder and lightning giants tigers rushed forward and backward in the undead army, and the number of the undead army continued to decrease sharply. Although time has passed for a long time, the thunder and lightning giant tiger has never dissipated. 5. This thunder and lightning giant tiger can independently extract the natural energy of the thunder attribute from the surrounding environment to replenish itself. Unless Muyun dies, theoretically it will never dissipate. What a terrifying trick! It can replenish its own energy and maintain its shape. Thunderbolt is really powerful, and it doesn't make sense at all. Kakashi's writing wheel eyes have been opened, watching the thunder and lightning tiger raging and rushing. There is a dignified look in his eyes, and there is a hint of yearning. I really hope that I can reach the level of Muyun one day. Unfortunately, although Kakashi's talent is very high, chakra will always be an important factor that hinders his development, unless he gives up writing round eyes. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 154: A monster with a height of 100 meters. I originally thought that this undead legion would be so difficult to deal with, but I didn't expect it to be just like this. If it goes on like this, even if their number is huge, we can eliminate them. Naruto watched the undead army continue to wear down under Muyun's attack, and a little contempt suddenly rose in his heart. Although these undead legions claim to be immortal, the effect of the sealing technique alignment is surprisingly powerful, so the threat is not that big. Muyun's eyes gradually became solemn, and he said, "It's not that simple, if it's really that easy. If it can be dealt with, let alone disturbing the 5 major countries, even those small ninja villages will not take it seriously." Muyun has clearly felt that as the distance progresses, the closer to the country of ghosts, the stronger the strength of the undead army, and even now, the strength of the undead army has reached the level of elite chunin. Don't be underestimated. Looking at this kind of strength, it is really nothing to put it aside, but after the base of 30 is expanded to hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, it will be a bit scary. At least now Muyun has obviously found that the advancement of the ninja army is much slower. After all, the strength of the ninja troops sent by Konoha this time is not very strong. The manipulator 10 thunder and lightning tigers slowly moved away from the range of Konoha ninjas for dozens of kilometers, and Muyun suddenly detonated all the thunder and lightning energy. The sound of the sky resounded through the heaven and the earth, and the huge explosive power directly set off a terrifying energy storm that spread over a range of dozens of kilometers. Within this range, thunder and lightning danced wildly, storms raged, and all the undead legions the soldiers turned into fly ash almost in an instant and disappeared between heaven and earth. This is also the way that Muyun discovered to kill the undead legion. As long as they are completely destroyed without leaving a trace, they naturally cannot be resurrected. It's easy to say, but only Muyun can do this. Just this blow directly killed thousands of soldiers of the undead legion, and also made Muyun's reinforcement points soar to 270,000. All the ninjas below the Chunin should retreat and attack with ninjutsu from a distance. Don't stand in front. All the ninjas will attack ninjutsu in a large area, and strive to open a road to the land of ghosts in one go. Although we are likely to be targeted, the time to reach the country of ghosts must be faster than other ninja villages. As Muyun's voice fell, the ninja army immediately starting to change the formation. Almost all of the lower ninjas fell to the back, and the most front were Muyun, Kakashi and the others. Thunderstorm Pear Blossom. Muyun's body was the first to rise into the air, and the undead legions on the other side of the hands. Slender lightning rods condensed directly in the air, and there were hundreds of thousands of them in an instant. With Muyun's wave, hundreds of thousands of rods, it swept down towards the sky and covered the earth, just like a rainstorm, very powerful. As soon as the lightning rod touched the undead army, a terrifying energy explosion occurred, and the terrifying energy waves continued to rise, constantly destroying the undead army. Quantity, and Kakashi, etc. Shangnin and all Chunin are using their own means, and they have the most powerful ninjutsu, and directly kill the undead army. The regiment is shrouded in. This time, Muyun directly gained 300,000 reinforcement points, and now Muyun has 570,000 reinforcement points. This huge gain caused Muyun to look at the undead legion in the eyes. It's all shining, these are all reinforcement points. If all the undead legions are eliminated, maybe his reinforcement points will skyrocket to an incredible level. Thinking of this, Muyun said directly, "You all stand back 10 km, I'll fix them." At this time, Kakashi and others were a little tired because of the long-term release of ninjutsu. After hearing Muyun's words, although they were a little puzzled, they still retreated. After all, their chakra is limited, and a long time the battle has exhausted them a lot, especially Kakashi, the chakra is almost exhausted. After Kakashi and others retreated to a safe distance, Muyun immediately stretched out his hands, thunder snake waves. The terrifying thunder and lightning appeared around Muyun in an instant, covering a distance of several kilometers in an instant. Then, a large number of thunder and lightning directly condensed into snakes of lightning, and tens of thousands of snakes of lightning gathered together. It is like a violent wave, devouring the undead army fiercely. The terrifying thunder and lightning have unparalleled power, turning all the enemies it touches into ashes, and then advancing unabated, directly in the undead army. Under the siege, a road to the land of ghosts has been opened. Every move of Muyun is in existence at the level of immortality, and the power is very huge, and the undead army with only the strength of the elite Chunin is simply difficult to resist. When Muyun was about to order the ninja troops to move forward, he suddenly frowned and murmured, "Is this the gift you gave me that is interesting?" In Muyun's sense of domineering, the soldiers of the undead legion began to gather slowly, and then they actually began to merge. In just 157 moments, tens of thousands of soldiers of the undead legion directly merged into one the size is as high as. The monster of hundreds of meters appeared directly in front of Muyun and others, looking very terrifying. Kakashi widened his eyes and whispered, "It can still be merged, and the size has become so big, it looks like this is in trouble." This body type, you can tell just by looking at it, it is definitely not easy to deal with. As far as this body type is concerned, the estimated power of a random blow is immeasurable. Although Naruto was also shocked, he still separated into two shadow clones. Said, "It's just that the body is relatively large, and the strength is not known until you try it." Speaking, with the help of the two shadow clones, a spiral pill shuriken was formed directly in Naruto's hands. Then, Naruto threw the spiral pill shuriken, and smashed it hard. Rice Monster's body, and then stared at the center of the attack of the spiral pill shuriken. Successful, really vulnerable. It can be clearly seen that where the spiral Maru shuriken attacked, the monster's body suddenly showed a trace of cracks, and it is still expanding, as if it will collapse in the next second. This situation suddenly made Naruto the light in the eyes is bright. Philo reminds you, the 3 things to read are collected and recommended. Chapter 155 Destruction. It's just that the expression on Naruto's face solidified directly, because the cracks that appeared on the monster with a height of 100 meters were almost instantly intact. Even the destruction speed of the spiral pill shuriken could not keep up with its recovery speed, so that the attack of the spiral pill shuriken has not dissipated, and the 100-meter monster has been intact. How is this possible? Naruto was stunned for a moment. He was very clear about the attack power of the spiral Maru shuriken. Even a small mountain could penetrate a big hole, not to mention that this monster that didn't seem to be very powerful didn't blame Naruto. With this kind of thinking, this monster is really ugly. Although it is huge, it is difficult for others to recognize it because of its ugly appearance. But there is no doubt that this guy is ugly, but his strength is really not to be underestimated. Looking at it, at least being able to resist the attack of the spiral pill shuriken shows that it is not simple. Because it is close to the land of ghosts, the ninja troops sent from other villages almost discovered this terrifying 100-meter monster for the first time. Hey, what kind of thing looks so scary? The ninjas of Sand Ninja Village looked at the 100-meter monster, with a trace of cold sweat on their faces, and felt a little dry for a while. Tamari narrowed his eyes, looked in the direction of the 100-meter monster, and murmured, "There, it seems to be the direction of the country of fire. Is this monster's purpose as the ninja of Konoha?" Gaara looked at Tamari and said in a deep voice, "In any case, our pace must be quickened. The appearance of this monster shows that the power of Sprite's awakening is constantly strengthening, and this trouble must be resolved quickly." The ninjas of Union Village looked at the 100-meter monster and said, "Could this be the trick of that Sprite? Can this monster really be defeated?" The fourth Hokage said in a deep voice, "This monster looks very similar to these so-called undead legions. It seems that some kind of mutation has occurred, but why haven't we encountered it? Could it be that the other party is only targeting Konoha, or is it that Konoha's strength forced them to have this kind of mutation?" Kurabi said solemnly, "Brother, now is not the time to think about this. We must enter the country of ghosts as soon as possible, and race against time to solve the ghost. Judging from the strength it has shown now, once it fully wakes up, it will definitely be a big trouble, and even the entire ninja world may really fall." The fourth Hokage also knew the seriousness of the matter, and immediately made the ninjas of Union Village speed up and rush towards the hinterland of the country of ghosts. The reactions of other ninja villages were similar, and Terumi-mei was the most surprised. As the ninjas of the land of water with the most closed information, they know very little about sprites. Terumi-mei looked at the hideous and ugly 100-meter monster, smiled and said, "It's really a strange ability. Really, I want to know what kind of existence the sprite is." To Terumi-mei, Sprite is a strange thing, and because of the curiosity of a woman, she would like to see Sprite sooner. Muyun looked at the fusion of the rice monster by the tens of thousands of undead legions, facing the card. Casey and others said, "Take all the ninjas back, stay away from here, the next battle is not for you." Kakashi nodded solemnly. He knew that what Muyun said was the truth, and it could be seen from the spiral pill shuriken that Naruto had just shot. They could not cause any damage to this monster with their strength. Staying here to cause trouble for Muyun, it is better to leave enough space for Muyun. Looking at the retreating ninjas, the huge monster suddenly said, "None of you want to escape. And you, that ninja who dares to look down on me, I will let you bury here today, so that you know that the power of a ninja is nothing in front of me." If you want to say who the spear has the deepest hatred for, it is undoubtedly Muyun. For thousands of years, he has been sealed many times, but Muyun is the first to dare to speak directly and despise it. The most important thing is, Muyun has the power to restrain it, the kind of thunder and lightning that makes the sprite feel deep jealousy, but also a strong disgust. Combining these two reasons, So Spooky is the first time to focus on the target on Muyun's body. As the sound of the sprite fell, the huge monster hundreds of meters in the air suddenly blasted a punch, and the air cannon with a diameter of 1 to 10 meters blasted directly at Kakashi and others. Kakazai's face suddenly became ugly. This punch gave him a lot of pressure and made him feel powerless. Don't pay attention to this guy and retreat with them. At this moment, Muyun's body appeared in front of the air cannon, and he also punched, but Muyun's fist was too small compared to the monster's huge fist. And it was this small fist, a punch that was no less powerful than the air cannon blasted by the monster, and slammed into the air cannon. Just as soon as he touched it, the punches that Muyun blasted directly destroyed the air cannon, and then smashed it at the monster without any hesitation. The huge fist hit the monster's body, directly punching a terrifying hole with a diameter of 10 meters. Kakashi watched this scene, his eyes widened, and he found that he always misestimated Muyun's strength. When he thought he had figured out the limit of Muyun's vision, Muyun could always burst into a stronger strength. Li Jiao, but he didn't stay here either. With Muyun's resistance, he didn't care about the monster's attack at all, he just kept retreating with the ninja troops. It was not until they had withdrawn a distance of more than 10 kilometers that Kakashi ordered the ninja troops to stop. He stepped down and looked at the monster who was fighting with Muyun. Without the constraints of the ninja army, Muyun suddenly shouted, "Thunder Dragon!" A giant thunder and lightning dragon with a height of hundreds of meters appeared directly behind Muyun, and then suddenly rushed towards the monster. Terrifying thunder and lightning flashed on the thunder dragon's body, and when it touched the monster's body in an instant, large black marks appeared directly on the monster's body. With the beating of the thunder and lightning, the thunder dragon's body climbed directly along the monster's body, and was tightly wrapped around the monster's body. Received by the thunder dragon the bondage, the monster can't move for a moment. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 156, Soaring Strengthening Point. Spider, I have to say, your ability is really peculiar. You can create such a terrifying undead army, but you have far underestimated the power of a ninja. You, who have been closed to the world for thousands of years, can't understand the power of ninjas at all. Even if you are possessed by other ninjas, the information you learn is only one-sided. You thought your undead legions were invincible, but unfortunately, we've dealt with them anyway. That was bound and couldn't move, and directly talked to the sprite. To be honest, Muyun felt that the Sphinx had a threat similar to that of the 10 Tails, but this guy was too conceited, and he didn't understand the power of the ninja at all. Therefore, this guy is much easier to deal with than the 10 Tails, but the premise is it's because the other party didn't wake up completely and didn't break free from the seal, otherwise, even Muyun would not be able to destroy it. Of course, all of this is just Muyun's guess, maybe the sprite is far less powerful than he imagined. But in any case, Muyun will not underestimate the other party. The other party can exist for thousands of years, and it must have its own advantages, not to mention that the lion fights the rabbit with all his strength. Muyun has always kept this principle in mind. It's ridiculous. Ninjas are nothing but ants, how can they be compared with me? If you don't have the power of thunder and lightning, do you think you have the qualifications to talk to me? Still very disdainful of ninjas, and the reason is naturally because of Xian's guard ninja in the land of ghosts. When its seal loosened, it tried to control Xian's guard ninja, but it didn't have much hope. What makes it shocking is that it only stated a slightly tempting condition, and in addition to slightly disturbing the other party's mind, the other party's mind collapsed directly and was controlled by it. So for the so-called ninja, sprite is very disdainful. It thinks that ninjas are probably like this, and they are all so vulnerable. Muyun pouted and said, "What a stubborn guy. No wonder he has been sealed for so many years. Just with this IQ, he still has thinking of ruling the world as simply foolishness." Before waiting for the furious sprite to speak, Muyun directly controlled the thunderbolt energy contained in Thunder Dragon's huge body to explode fiercely. Rumbling. In an instant, the terrifying thunder and lightning directly enveloped the area of 10 kilometers. The lightning that shone to the extreme instantly emitted a dazzling light, causing all the ninjas to feel dizzy for a short time. The terrifying energy burst out in one breath, setting off a terrifying energy wave, which directly caused the ground for thousands of meters. It sank a few meters. The ground was severely rolled up, and for a while, the earth and rocks were flying like sand and rocks, like an apocalyptic scene. With a mushroom cloud slowly rising. The huge monster of 100 meters was directly buried in the terrifying energy shock. He was injured and shriveled in Muyun twice in a row, and he was extremely depressed and angry at the same time. He really wanted to directly grab Muyun and torture him. Dayton. But unfortunately, its power has not been fully. The seal has not been completely destroyed, so it is impossible to do this for the time being. Damn ninja, wait, after I recover and break free of the seal, I will be the first to solve you. The gloomy and incomparable voice of the sprites sounded directly in the dark space, very infiltrating. The battle here not only stunned the ninjas in Konoha, but also the ninjas in other ninja villages were shocked. Because the monsters and Thunder Dragon's body size is incomparably huge, reaching a size of 100 meters, so this battle has clearly fallen into the eyes of the other 5 ninjas in the ninja village. To be honest, this kind of terrifying battle is the only one they have seen in their lives, even if it is other. The shadow of the 444 villages is also the same, and only Onogi is calmer after all. After all, he is the only one left who has experienced the era of Senju Hasuma and Uchiha Madara, although this battle is very dynamic. Amazing, but it didn't make him lose his temper. But in any case, this battle directly reminded the other ninjas of Ninja Village that the power of Konoha Thor is far beyond their expectations, and they need to re-evaluate the wood. Yi Lei Shen's influence. Looking at the annihilated monster, Muyun clapped his hands and appeared beside Kakashi in an instant. Go ahead. After this time, it is estimated that until you enter the country of ghosts, you will not encounter too much obstruction. This battle, tens of thousands of undead legions were directly wiped out. Even if the undead legions were huge, they couldn't bear such a huge consumption. And seeing his own strength, no matter how stupid he was, he couldn't continue to send these little shrimps to die, because this makes no sense at all. Konoha's ninja army is heading towards the country of ghosts again, and as expected by Muyun, they hardly encountered any decent obstacles along the way. Even the undead army they encountered was just a big cat 2 or 3, they were solved easily. With almost no effort, Konoha's ninja troops entered the country of ghosts directly, and the process was very easy. Kakashi said with emotion, if this time it wasn't because of the existence of Muyun. It is estimated that we will be completely wiped out. Not to mention the huge monster of 100 meters, the undead army alone is enough for them to drink a pot. It is estimated that they will be wiped out under the entanglement of the undead army. After all, 4/5 of the undead army on the way, it was Muyun who eliminated them, and they didn't contribute much at all. Especially this time the number of ninjas they led was not large. Of course, it was precisely because of the existence of Muyun that Tsunade sent so many ninjas, because Tsunade the hand knows that there is Muyun. Even if the ninja is not dispatched, there is no problem. Listening to Kakashi's words, Muyun just smiled, and his heart was very excited at this time. This battle alone, his reinforcement points have skyrocketed to more than 1.4 million. He didn't even see the sprite's face, so he directly obtained so many reinforcement points. Muyun was very happy. It's really not wrong. Sprite is just giving him reinforcement points. Originally, Muyun thought that Dayemu was already a very powerful reinforcement point brushing machine, but compared with Sprite, Dayemu is simply a younger brother, not even a younger brother. Feilu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect and recommend. Chapter 157 You Will Die. After arriving in the country of ghosts, Muyun and others also saw Xian, the witch of the country of ghosts. At this time, the witch Xian looked very haggard, with a strong desire to die. You are the ninjas of Konoha, didn't you think breaking through the blockade of the undead army so quickly and entering the country of ghosts, the ninjas from other ninja villages haven't come yet? A slight smile appeared on Xian's face and said, Muyun and the others are the first to arrive in the country of ghosts, and the ninja troops from other ninja villages have not yet arrived. In fact, it is not difficult to imagine that the reason why Muyun can easily deal with the undead legion is because of his strength, and his ability to restrain the undead legion and the sprites. But other ninja villages are not so easy. Union Village, although he is proficient in thunder escape, there is still a big gap with his own thundering fruit. Moreover, Muyun has also discovered that the only thing that can restrain the sprite is the lightning condensed by natural energy, and the thunder escape triggered by chakra cannot be achieved at all. To the effect of restraint. Perhaps Onagi's dust escape can also restrain the undead army, but unfortunately, Onamu's chakra is not enough, and he can use dust escape a few times. Muyun looked at Shiyuan and said, how is the situation now? Did you break the seal? In comparison, Muyun was more concerned about the sprite's situation, and he keenly found that the development of things did not seem to be going so smoothly. At least from Ziyuan's haggard face and eyes full of death desire, Muyun can guess that things have developed to a very bad point. As expected, Ziyuan said, the speed of your arrival is not bad. Quickly, but the sprite has broken most of its seals, and its will is fully awakened. It is estimated that in 3 days at most, the sprite will completely break free from the seal, and the whole world will be plunged into disaster. Speaking of this, the expression on Xian's face suddenly became serious. I'm ready. If I still can't stop the sprite from breaking away from the seal, I will sacrifice myself to strengthen the seal of sprite. In the kingdom of ghosts, Ziyuan is fully prepared for this day. Her mother did the same at the beginning. Perhaps this is the meaning of their witch's existence. Mu Yun frowned and said, actually, I don't need to be so troublesome. I will try to eliminate the sprites completely. If I fail, it's not too late for you to strengthen the seal. Be honest, Mu Yun didn't want to see such a beautiful woman sacrifice herself. From the moment he saw Ziyuan, Mu Yun was attracted by the beauty of the other party. It's a pity that such a beautiful woman should die like this. Moreover, he still has a mission. He couldn't give up the mission, so he saved him. Xian is nothing. Was a glimmer of hope in Ziyuan's eyes. Looking at Mu Yun, it was very fast. This glimmer of hope disappeared in his eyes. You will die if you fight with sprites. Hearing this, Mu Yun's face was slightly startled, but he forgot that Ziyuan would see the future. Maybe Ziyuan saw his own future, and Mu Yun showed an interesting smile on his face. Death. How did you know I was going to die? Xian closed her eyes. Without much to say, she was afraid that Mu Yun would collapse instantly after hearing about her future. All along, many people have come to her to predict the future, but most people's futures are not good. All of these people are collapsed, desperate and lost the power to survive. Since then, although Ziyuan can still see the future of others, he will never say it, at least until the future happens. Everyone has the right to survive. Mu Yun probably also knows that Ziyuan is silent. The reason for this, said, don't worry, even if the future you see is that I am really dead, I will not have any mood swings. Because I have never believed in the so-called destiny. Even if I really die in the future, I will change this future. Mu Yun believes that Ziyuan's ability to see the future is real, but he also believes in his own strength. Perhaps in the so-called future that Ziyuan saw, he really died, but now all this has not happened. This is just the future. Just with his strength, why can't he change the future? Ziyuan suddenly opened his eyes and said, you are very strange. Your body seems to be covered with a layer of mist. Although I can see your future, but there is also a kind of I can't see how you feel. I have predicted the future for countless people, but I have never encountered a special situation like you. Are you really not afraid of a mortal future? Mu Yun said with a smile. Miss Ziyuan, maybe you still don't know the meaning of the profession of ninja. Once you become a ninja, then death will follow you. No matter what. Of the mission or in the leisure time, the life of a ninja is always unpredictable. Maybe the next moment, he will die. So as a ninja, most people are no longer afraid of death, so am I, and I don't believe I will die. Ziyuan glanced at Mu Yun in amazement, and then said, actually, in the future I see, you have exploded with unprecedented power, and fought a tragic battle with sprites. Even in battle, you are slightly suppressing the sprites. Speaking of which, a blush appeared on Ziyuan's face, but at this moment, in order to save me, you were attacked by a sprite through your chest and fell from the air. When she said this, Xian's eyes flashed a strange light, and she turned her head away in embarrassment. Mu Yun was stunned for a moment, and then said, that's it. With the domineering arrogance of knowledge, how could he have been successfully attacked by sprites? Even if he was pierced through his chest, it could only show that he did it voluntarily, and maybe he had some tactics at the time. The future, Mu Yun didn't care at all. Ziyuan's eyes widened and looked at Mu Yun in disbelief. Hearing that his future was death, this man didn't react at all. Could it be that he didn't believe that he could see the future, but it seemed that Mu Yun didn't have this idea. Could it be that this man is really not afraid of death? Indifferent to the future. Chapter 158. The sprite wakes up early. Until the end, Ziyuan still couldn't hold back and asked, Mu Yun, are you really not afraid of life and death? Xian still doesn't believe that there are people in this world who are not afraid of death, and death is a terrible thing for everyone. Even a person with strong psychology and quality will definitely feel fear after learning of his death. Mu-yun smiled and said, "Not afraid of life and death, it must be a lie, I am also afraid of death, but I believe in myself more." Ziyuan looked at Mu-yun seriously, and seemed to be a little confused by the answer that Mu-yun gave. Because she can't understand at all, what is the source of this confidence? Mu-yun didn't explain that much. This kind of thing is not clear, and everything will naturally have an answer at that time. And Mu-yun also thought, 157. Take a look at what the so-called future looks like. It was not until a day later that the other 444 ninja villages entered the country of ghosts one after another. I didn't expect Konoha's ninjas to take the lead, it's amazing. After seeing the Konoha ninjas station, Terumi Mei took the lead to Sai. They all saw the terrifying 100-meter monster before, and they knew that it was the Konoha ninjas' encounter. But what they didn't expect was that the obstruction was so tricky. The Konoha ninja was the first to arrive, which made Terumi Mei's eyes looking at Mu-yun full of curiosity and exploration. She admitted that if she encountered that kind of monster, she would not. It may be easy to solve it, and they just saw the size of the monster, and they don't know the fighting power of the monster. The only one who remained calm was Onogi, who had seen Mu-yun's strength, just snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Oops, Sprite woke up early. Just then, still, Shien's expression changed as he told Onogi and the others about the situation. He clearly sensed that the Sprite woke up earlier, which made her face change dramatically, and she was caught off guard. Oyemu's face also became solemn. It seems that we have no time to rest. We must solve this trouble as soon as possible. Except for Mu-yun, the expressions of the other 444 shadows were extremely solemn, because they all felt the power of the evil power emanating from the Sprite. At this moment, they all knew that they underestimated Sprite, but up to now, I can only bite the bullet. Mu-yun showed a very interested look and fought. He doesn't have the slightest sense of tension, and has absolute confidence in his own strength. And he really wants to see the strength of the Sprite. He has already beaten the tail beast, and he wants to know the strength of the Sprite and the tail beast. Whether there is a gap, how big is this? Look! At this moment, Gaara screamed in surprise, causing everyone present to look at the sound. All the undead legions are in sight. According to rough estimates, the number has reached hundreds of thousands. Moreover, these undead legions are gradually surrounding them. It seems that the situation is very bad. Ziyuan's face is solemn. Said, the Sprite is completely awakened. After that, the number of undead legions has further increased, and the most important thing is that the power that the Sprites can use now is much stronger than before. That is to say, the strength of these undead legions that you see now is much stronger than before. Ziyuan's words changed the expressions of everyone present. Only Mu-yun was calm. The fourth Hokage couldn't help but said, "Isn't there anything that can be done once and for all? We have already lost quite a few ninjas on the way to the land of ghosts." Before setting off again, Union Village dispatched thousands of ninjas, but since then, they have lost a lot of fighting against the undead army. Until now, the number of ninja troops in Union Village is only about 1,000. Others, the situation in Shinobi Village is similar. Before they set off, they never thought that Sprites are so difficult to deal with. In fact, it is not surprising. Just as Sprites don't understand ninjas, ninjas also don't understand Sprites. They really exist. The time is too long. It can even be said that all ninjas only know their names, but the ninjas who have really seen the Sprites do not exist at all. Shien said, "There is no way, only to seal the Sprites. If there is really a way to do it once and for all, then the witches in the Kingdom of Ghosts will not have sealed the ghosts at the expense of themselves." Onogi asked, "The witches in the Kingdom of Ghosts and the ghosts have fought so hard. For many years, even if there is no one-size-fits-all solution, there is still a way to deal with it." Quote, "The number of undead legions is too large. Even if we use the lives of ninjas to fill in, we will not be able to fill them all." Onogi's words won the unanimous approval of the 4 generations of Hokage and others. All of them looked at Shien with hope. However, the truth was cruel. Shien shook his head and said, there is only one way to deal with sprites, and that is to seal them. If we really can't pass the undead army, we can only watch the sprites break free from the seal completely. For a while, everyone was silent, and their hearts were extremely desperate. These undead legions are the strength of elite Chunin. After using the domineering sense of seeing and hearing, Muyun directly found that the strength of the undead army is all controlled by the elites. It is very balanced. Muyun's words are even more in the hearts of everyone. 7A layer of gloom is overshadowed, and elite Chunin is not weak. The faces of Onogi and others are very ugly. Among the ninjas they brought, the number of elite Chunin is only 10,000. Even though there are hundreds of people in Shangnan, they are still unable to deal with such a large number of undead legions. Even if they add 4 shadow level powerhouses, it is not enough, and Gaara is only a beginner in shadow level. If the 4 of them join forces, they can still open up a bloody path, but these guys can't be killed at all, they can only be sealed, which undoubtedly brings huge obstacles to their actions. At this moment, Oyemyu's eyes lit up and he said, "As a witch, you should be able to restrain the undead legion again. No matter how bad it is, can you weaken their power?" Chapter 159 Wanlei. Facing Oyegi's hopeful gaze, Xian said slowly, "The witchcraft I know can indeed restrain the power of sprites." Onagi's face instantly lit up with a hint of joy, but before he could wait for his joy to last long, Xian continued, "However, the number of undead legions is too large, sorcery cannot cover a wide area to attack, so this point it doesn't work either." Onagi's mood is like riding a roller coaster, and as soon as he goes up and down, the trace of joy in his heart has not yet solidified, and it is directly shattered. The killing has passed, and now the undead army has surrounded us, and we have no way out. Even if we want to retreat now, it is impossible, we can only face it. At this moment, the figure of his father appeared in the mind of the 4th Raikage, thinking that when the 3 generations of Raikage fought alone against tens of thousands of ninjas, they were not afraid at all, so what was he afraid of? With great pride, Union Village has always solved things with fists, and almost all the muscles in the head. The words of the 4th Raikage have been recognized by others. He is right, now they have no way out, even if they want to retreat, and the sprites may not let them go. Thinking of this, no matter what, whether it was Onogi or Terumi-mei, they all led the ninjas towards the undead army and started to fight. For a time, all kinds of ninjutsu were flying all over the sky, and the ninja army led by 4 shadow-level powerhouses was directly like a tiger. It's like a flock, and it's really impressive for a while. Especially the 4th Raikage, the movement of the shot is very huge, and every move has a whole ninja to fall down, compared to the 4th Raikage. For taijutsu ninjas, the undead army is really easy to deal with. The most difficult one is Onogi. Although his dust escape is a weapon for clearing soldiers, but the amount of chakra is not enough, he can't use it on a large scale at all. I used Tuden ninjutsu to attack, but unfortunately, the damage of Tuden ninjutsu to the undead army is very weak. Therefore, not long after the battle, Onogi began to pant, and even twisted his waist. Kakashi looked at Muyun suspiciously and said, "Muyun, can't we do it?" The current situation is very critical. In Kakashi's view, only when all the ninjas are united can there be a chance to kill a bloody way. But looking at Muyun, it seems that there is no attack order at all. Kakashi can only be anxious, because the commander-in-chief this time is Muyun. Looking at Kakashi's anxious look, Muyun said plainly, "What are you doing with your hands, are you going to die?" Muyun pointed to the 4 great ninja villages and said, "Look at yourself, a momentary surge of blood can't solve any problem. Can the undead army of hundreds of thousands of elite Junin strength be able to deal with them?" Looking at Muyun's fingers, the ninja troops that had an advantage at the beginning have now fallen into an absolute disadvantage, almost being pressed and beaten. Especially the ninjas whose strength is lower than the upper ninja are almost being slaughtered. There is no trace of resistance. That is, 4 shadow-level powerhouses can barely maintain their combat effectiveness under the attack of the undead army, and they are still fighting back. But looking at the appearance, it seems that they will not last long. After all, the chakra of ninjas is limited. More not to mention such a high-intensity battle, although a lot of undead legionnaires have been eliminated, their own chakra is also huge. You must know that the undead legion is not an ordinary enemy. In addition to the seal, the only way to destroy this one is complete destruction. Method: in this way, the chakra spent is undoubtedly more terrifying. Did you see that rushing up hastily? It has no effect at all, and it only consumes vitality. Mu-yun looked at Kakashi and said lightly. Kakashi's face was full of despair, and he said, "Is there really no way? Even if we don't rush up, we will still die in the end. The Undead Legion doesn't care if you take the initiative to attack, they will all attack, and when the time comes, it will still be a dead man." A smile suddenly appeared on Mu-yun's face, and he said, "I just said that they can't deal with the Undead Legion. But it didn't say I couldn't deal with it." Kakashi's face suddenly climbed a trace of joy, and asked, "Mu-yun, do you have a way to deal with the undead army?" Mu-yun did not speak, but secretly condensed the natural energy of the thunder attribute, and suddenly emptied half of the thunder attribute energy in his body. It directly covered a radius of dozens of kilometers. The terrifying thunder and lightning directly stunned the ninjas who were fighting. Even the 4 shadow-level powerhouses were dumbfounded, staring at the sudden thunder and lightning. With a strong shock in his eyes, Shuju murmured, "Is it possible that the thunderbolt is Mu-yun's shot?" Tamari can only think of Mu-yun alone who can launch a large-scale terrifying lightning attack like 157, and no one else can do it. A smile appeared on Konkuro's embarrassed face, and he said, "Brother-in-law is still very powerful. What a terrifying amount of chakra he can directly launch such a large-scale move at once. With such a wide coverage requires a huge amount of chakra. Even Konkuro has some doubts. Even a tailed beast probably doesn't have so many chakras." Onogi looked at the boundless thunder and lightning that enveloped the sky, secretly in his heart. Said, "If I also have such a terrifying amount of chakra, with the dust escape, who else is my opponent in the entire ninja world? Even if Madara Uchiha is resurrected, I'm afraid I can defeat it." Seeing the completely different reactions on everyone's faces, Mu-yun's face was expressionless, and he waved his arms directly, "Wan Lei." As Mu-yun's voice fell, tens of thousands of stout lightnings fell directly from the sky and fell within the range of the Undead Legion. Constantly sweeping around, the terrifying scene is like the end of the world, which makes people feel palpitations. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 160 The Fear of Mu-yun. Anything that is touched by lightning, whether it is the undead army or the ground, is turned into fly ash, and even the ground in a radius of tens of kilometers becomes potholes and charred black. Just kidding. A terrifying attack is really what a ninja can do. Quote, "Lei done at this level is really too terrifying, it's simply beyond the scope of ninjutsu." As a ninja from Union Village who is proficient in thunder ninjutsu, the 4th generation Reikage simply cannot understand Mu-yun's power. In his opinion, this is definitely beyond the scope of ninjutsu. Even Mu-yun's chakra is more than a tailed beast, it is much larger, otherwise such a terrifying attack would never be possible. Even the 4th generation of Reikage thought like this, not to mention the others, who were immediately speechless, as if their throats were caught by a big hand. In general, I can't speak at all. Look, although these lightnings included us in the attack range, they didn't hurt us, and they seemed to avoid us on purpose. At this moment, Terumi Mei's terrified voice sounded, causing the 4th generation of Reikage and the others to come back to their senses, and then, there was an even stronger shock. You must know that Lei Dun is a violent force, and if you want to control it, it's not easy, let alone driving like an arm. Moreover, Mu-yun launched a large-scale super attack move. How could it be possible to drive like an arm and make the thunder and lightning be like his arm? It's a terrible guy, this level of Lei Dun. I have never heard of it. I have never seen it before. Even if it is faced with a ninja army in a certain village, it can be defeated in battle. At this moment, whether it was the 4th generation of Reikage or the 3rd generation of Toying, the threat of Mu-yun to his village immediately appeared in his mind. For a time, the eyes of the 4 shadow-level powerhouses flickered with unpredictable rays of light. With the indiscriminate and continuous attacks of tens of thousands of thunder and lightning, the undead army, which was so large that the 4 shadow-level powerhouses were helpless, was directly wiped out. Muyun, your strength is really surprising. Whenever I think it's right when you know enough, you always surprise me again, as if your strength has no limit. Kakashi's eyes are full of amazement. One move can destroy hundreds of thousands of elite Chunin-level enemies. If Muyun born in the era of war, it is estimated that it is on the same level as the first Hokage and others. Maybe it is more powerful than the first Hokage. For a time, Kakashi's mind appeared a thought that even he thought was ridiculous, but he still looked for it. There is no reason to refute. And the 4 shadow-level powerhouses glanced at each other, and they could see the solemnity in each other's eyes. They had already imagined that if there was a day Konoha attacked them, once Muyun shot, then their village will be powerless to resist. Although the power of the tailed beast is called a weapon of war, the tailed beast has a disadvantage, that is, it cannot control the accuracy of its own attacks. That is to say, the power of the tailed beast as a double-edged sword can hurt the enemy as well as themselves. But Muyun has no such concerns, and has the ability to use it without fear. It was just this short moment that a trace of vigilance naturally arose in their hearts. The demise of the Undead Legion made Muyun's reinforcement points skyrocket again, reaching as many as 2.7 million. With the demise of the Undead Legion, Muyun and others, under the leadership of Xian, people went to the temple where the sprites were sealed. As soon as he approached the temple, Muyun felt a very evil force hovering around. This kind of power is different from chakra, which makes Muyun feel a little strange, and Muyun can feel it. The level of this power must be a little higher than chakra. Although it is still a lot worse than your own natural energy, it has an absolute advantage compared to chakra. It seems that this time is troublesome. This kind of power is for ninjas. It's so tricky. At this moment, Muyun finally understood why his attack could easily destroy the undead army, but other ninjas couldn't. Because chakra's power level is already a bit lower than the sprite's power level, how could there be too significant effect? Kakashi asked. Muyun, have you noticed something? According to Kakashi's understanding of Muyun, he knows that Muyun will never say some insignificant words. Since he has said it, it means that the situation is much worse than he imagined. Muyun nodded and said, yeah, sprites are stronger than chakras, so for ninjas, it's a very tricky existence. Let's inform you, wait for the battle to start, don't get too close, this battle, I can do it alone. After knowing the power level of the sprites, Muyun already understood that the role of Kakashi and the others in this battle is no longer important. Moreover, his purpose is to destroy sprites, so he does not expect Kakashi and the others to be able to what a favor. Kakashi heard the words, although he was a little confused, he still informed according to Muyun's instructions. For a time, Konoha's ninjas stopped directly 5 kilometers away from the temple, and did not continue to move forward. And this move was naturally discovered by the ninjas of other ninja villages. What do you Konoha ninjas mean? The 4th Raikage questioned in an instant. In the eyes of the 4 generations of Raikage, this battle is related to their life and death, and they must go all out. Konoha ninjas' behavior is a naked escape. Li Jiao, why are they going up and desperate? Konoha ninja will see. Although Onogi and the others did not speak, the meaning in their eyes is obviously the same as that of the 4th Raikage. Kakashi did not hide it, and said the truth. The power of sprites is very restrained by ninjas, so be careful. Of course, Kakashi is not a fool. Naturally, he kept his mind a little bit, and didn't say anything about Muyun's battle alone. If this matter is said, won't the 4 generations of Raking and the others just sit back and enjoy it? Although Kakashi is not a narrow-minded person, he can't help but be careful when dealing with ninjas from other villages. The 4th Raikage snorted coldly and said, then you Konoha ninjas should be tortoises. You Konoha are afraid of sprites, but our Union village is not afraid.